my beautiful creatures. How are we today? Hello, hello, hello. It's Yowie Day, everyone. Why is the moon bleeding? Is it that time of the month? No, the moon goes like, there's like a time. Sometimes the moon is red, so like it's referred to as bleeding. But also when the moon is red, the demons come out and and murder people. So like the moon is causing bleeding, you know? It's kind of like a two-edged sort of description. Very cool writing. Very, very, very fun actually. Yeah, I messed up that scheduling 100%, Jackie. That one was on me. I was basically like bowing and being like, oh no, groveling. This is completely my fault. I've wasted your time. This is so unprofessional. It was, yeah. What kind of cheese sticks? Well, they are all gone now. I ate them all. No, just plain cheese sticks. Just plain cheese. I'm very white. Just eat 'em cheese. Just very plain cheese that you get in those packets. Yeah, they're all gone. I ate them all during the starting soon screen. I was like, these will get me through stream. I won't have to rely on energy drinks so much. No, they're gone. What kind of cheese though? I think Colby? Very basic. I don't have the packet in front of me right now. But I'm pretty sure it was Colby. I haven't really eaten many other cheeses because I've been like a picky eater my whole life. And I'm kind of going through like a safe food only phase again. Why is there a stick in the cheese? I like the crunch! I need some crunch in my munch. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm going through another safe eating phase, which is basically I will only eat foods that are not interesting. So I can't try new foods right now. We've broken out of that interesting experimental time that we were enjoying, and we're back to the safe only food zone for a bit. It was nice while it lasted. It was nice while it lasted. But we're back to Yowie time, everyone. We've seen Haru is getting like full frontal in many ways. He got to see Man Titty. He got to see Man Dick. And he's getting to deal with his full frontal gay panic. He's coping pretty well, honestly, for a historical character. He's like, well, maybe I just will think about my mission and it won't be a problem. It will. This game has an 18 and not safe work patch on Itch.io. They do fuck. I just like to remind people about the horny options that are out there. If they would like to see the characters fuck, they can. And they may, if they wish to. It's under the same title. It's just an 18 plus patch on Itch.io. Priscilla the Ravenous Beast, for real! I have to say, people, you ever think about like how there's like a deadly sin that is like most like you know, like the deadly sins. I don't believe in the like religion or whatever, but like I like the aesthetics. I like the aesthetics of it all. I think they're pretty. I like the big windows and the pretty wooden pews and everything. I think it's pretty. And the 7 deadly sins, they rocked with that. That was hype shit. So I really think I'm a greed bitch. I think that is me. I am greed. Love a stained glass window for real. I would love to have my whole room window be stained glass. It would be so nice. So expensive, so it would never happen. But so pretty. Imagine the beauty of the world, you know? If you could have that. Just the magics of the world. When we get a house, I want to get one. Girl, you have to. You should get like... It's actually really common to get like a nice stained glass feature on a front... in like a front door window situation. Like, that's pretty nice. I think you could do that quite easily. Legend of Zelda one. Oh, would you do... Is it like the classic 2D Link with the Triforce and everyone? Like, in the like 2D... caveman art style that I know they have in games when they show like the historicals, tales and things. Are you going to do that kind of thing? I think that would translate quite well to stained glass. I think that would. I don't know much about Zelda. Those are on my list. I do have to take a break from buying things because don't know, there are a lot of choices. There are. I think personally, as an unbiased woman, I think you should get the big titty fairies that I have seen. I think those would be quite fun and classy. There is the Wind Waker art style choice too. Is that the boat one? I think that's the boat one you're talking about. It must be, because I remember the Game Grumps playing it. Yeah, I used to watch the Game Grumps, everyone. Tempe was a Markiplier girlie, still is, because she had good taste. I enjoyed Game Grumps. I fell off Game Grumps pretty quickly though, because I was like, some of these jokes are weird. The chibi-ish art style. Yeah. Some of these jokes are just foreign accents, and some of these jokes are just kind of weird. I did enjoy the when it wasn't Danny and Aaron. I liked it when it was the other people more. Like Ross. Ross was really fun, and Barry. Barry was also really cool. Yeah, the main two just, they didn't hit as hard. They weren't the vibe I was there for. Which is funny because they were the main selling point. It's like when you're reading a manga, a romance manga, where like, it's like a romance manga, and it's like, man, the main couple just isn't hitting as hard as the side couple, but the author doesn't care about the side couple that much, man. It's that sort of feeling, you know? Need a stained glass window of your hyperfixation. Ooh, yes, girl. I think, as a treat, everyone should be allowed to have one stained glass window. As a treat. And it would stimulate the local economy, you know? Because the government would have to pay for them all. And then we'd have more people making stained glass windows, and that would be good. Keeping a dying art, keeping like a traditional art alive. I don't know if it's dying, I shouldn't say that. You guys were in Achievement Hunter house, but they changed the composition and it never felt like group we liked. I liked some Achievement Hunter. I liked some of it, but not a lot of it. And it turned out there was a lot of bullshit going on, which made me go, ooh. Ooh. Icky. Wow. That's a nice intro. I think we're ready to start. Though Haru couldn't see the romance inherent in struggling, perhaps there was something romantic about that. Oh, Hester. That's so fucking funny, you're a comedian. You like the Final Fantasy house? Yeah, you do, you bitch. Oh my god, the fucking Final Fantasy house. Jesus Christ. Am I thinking of the same thing? God, I am. It's like a cult thing. I swear I am. That one guy did it. Yeah, no, I am thinking of the same thing. God, oh. What a fucking mess of a thing. You watched that deep dive, didn't you, little menace? Though Haru couldn't see the romance inherent in struggling, perhaps there was something romantic about that. Haru and Kisho continued to travel onwards, pressing forth during the day and fighting for their lives at night. Days passed, then another week. Until at long last their destination loomed before them. Kazimaura was within sight. I realize I've been saying Kazimaura with a Māori sort of way of doing things, but it kind of makes sense, because I mean, they're both islander countries, really, if you think about it. Japan is an island country. New Zealand is an island country. There's usually like, there's some similarities when it comes to words with island countries. Usually. In just another day, their journey would come to its inevitable conclusion. Haru did not feel any particular satisfaction, however, as he unsaddled his horse that night. He had thought he might feel more relieved at being so close to the end of his travels, but he could not muster up the enthusiasm. Instead, he felt uneasy. Haru had never been one to believe in fate, not like Sakurako's mother, but something about the air smelt off. It felt as though something was destined to go wrong. Probably is. Knowing this game's like, yeah. Haru chose not to voice his concern to Kisho, however. They were too insubstantial. He kept his thoughts to himself as he and Kisho searched for a place to sleep. And as they unsaddled their horses, Haru had grown accustomed to sleeping rough. But this night, by chance, they came across a building wherein they could take shelter. It was an old, dilapidated barn. The barn was a wooden structure with a thatched roof and wooden walls. It was immediately obvious that the barn had not been used in quite some time. Its roof was riddled with holes, and it listed to one side like a drunken old man. There were no animals present inside the barn, which was, Haru presumed, a blessing. He did not relish the thought of having to sleep among snorting horses or snuffling pigs. The barn must not have been abandoned for too long, however, because the ground was still strewn with hay. The barn might not have been the most luxurious lodgings, but it was better than sleeping beneath the stars. Here, at least, they would have a roof over their heads. Even if the aforementioned roof had seen better days. Haru and Kisho set about their nightly tasks, tending to their horses, eating and drinking, before they both lay down in the hay. Haru turned away from Kisho, his eyes squeezed tightly shut. He wanted to sleep, but this felt impossible. Haru could feel Kisho's eyes upon him, boring curiously into his back. Haru endured Kisho's curious staring for several seconds or so, feeling like a donkey on display at the marketplace until he could endure it no more. He sat up, his cheeks marred with a red crisscross pattern from the straw, and frowned. "What is it?" "I think I ought to be the one asking you that, young master. You've been real quiet all night. Is something on your mind?" "It's hard to explain how I feel. But I don't feel right. I haven't for a while." "Well, I can tell as much. You've been pretty frickin' obvious about it." "I have?" "Uh-huh. You might be good at cutting down those monsters, but you've no skills at all when it comes to subterfuge. You'd make for a truly awful thief. So it's good for you that you were born into a wealthy family. You'd never make it out on the streets." Kisho grinned, then gave Haru a gentle nudge. "So what's the problem? You getting cold feet now we're almost at Kazimauda?" "That's partially it, I suppose. But I was just wondering, what if something was to happen to us?" "What do you mean, something? That's pretty vague coming from a guy as straightforward as you." "You know what I mean. I just thought, this is dangerous. Sakurako was badly hurt, and we've seen people get killed. Back at the inn when those monsters attacked." Haru shuddered. The air stank of blood. A lot of innocent people were killed. They were torn apart. I don't want you getting dragged into this. Not when you aren't directly involved. It doesn't seem fair." "Huh." Kisho observed Haru for a few moments, mute for once, before he smiled. "Are you coming over all concerned about me, young master?" "I'm concerned about the pair of us. Kazimauda will be more dangerous than I thought. I don't know what exactly is waiting for us, but the closer we're coming to the village, the more uneasy I feel. I think there's something waiting for me. And if you're with me, it won't hesitate to harm you too. That's what I'm worried about." I don't want even more blood on my hands. Well, that's real considerate and all, but you're wrong. You know, what you said, I'm not involved in this. I am involved. I got involved. Your father paid for my services, and I agreed to his terms. I'm in this for the money, so it's fine. I knew I was getting into something potentially dangerous without you having to warn me. I mean, I saw that monster that attacked the young Miss Maid. I knew I was potentially putting my life on the line, so don't worry. Your father offered enough cash to make it worth me while. And your life can be bartered for coins, can it? It can when I'm poor, and I've spent most of my life going hungry. I'm fine with this, so don't fret. Even if I do get killed, which isn't high on my to-do list, but let's pretend. I ain't gonna curse your name. I ain't gonna haunt you from beyond the grave. I'm the one who made this decision, so I'm gonna take responsibility for whatever comes from it. I might be a vagrant, but I still have some sense of honor. Now, why are you worrying about me so much? I thought you didn't like me. It shouldn't even matter to you whether I get hurt or not. You didn't want to travel this far with me in the first place. That's true, but... Whatever. Never mind. I must be tired. It's making me anxious. We ought to go to sleep. We'll need our rest for the last leg of our journey. Good idea. I couldn't have come up with a better plan of action myself. Shall we hit the hay? Quite literally. Internally, Haru groaned. Kisho seemed a little too proud about that silly pun. He hadn't been waiting for the opportunity, had he? Well, whatever. It wasn't worth commenting on. Yes, that would probably be for the best. Good night, Kisho. Night, young master. Try not to let the bedbugs bite. Or the termites. Or the cockroaches. I'll do my best. Me too. I hope they don't crawl into my hair when I'm sleeping. It'll be better your hair at least than your mouth. Good point. Ugh. You didn't need to put that thought in my head. I'm going to have a hard time dozing off now. You say that, but I doubt it. Knowing you, you'll be out in approximately 5 seconds. Is that how long it usually takes me? More or less. You always fall asleep before I do. That's because I know, if any monsters do sneak up on us, you'll have my back. I know I can always rely on you at least. You're pretty dependable. Even if you do keep acting like you hate me. Kisho chuckled to himself, then lay down on the straw. It wasn't very long before Kisho fell asleep. A fact which was announced by his snoring. Of course he hasn't stopped snoring. The bitch is addicted to it. Ugh. Shuffling around. Ugh. That was so like Kisho. He always snored. Haru hadn't liked Kisho's snoring at first, but now he found it oddly soothing. They might be nearing Kazimara, but at least things never changed. There are ways to fix the snoring. So true, bestie. Many ways. A little nudge. A little pillow. Yes. Kisho was reliable to a fault. So much so Haru didn't know what he would do without him. A small smile rose to Haru's lips. And he too fell asleep. Nightmare time, nightmare time? Can I have a nightmare as a little tweet? I love the other nightmares. Sleep claimed Haru, obliterating all of his fretful thoughts. Yes, we're getting a nightmare! Ah! Big win for me, a nightmare enjoyer. Haru's dreams were anything but soothing. Ah, Haru, you may be suffering, but I'm enjoying it. So that's all that matters. In his dreams, he could no longer hear Kisho's snoring. The only sounds present were that of his rapid, frantic breathing and the beating of his heart. It was very dark, so much so he couldn't see where he was. He extended his arms, searching for a way to escape from the darkness, but he was unable to fully extend his arms. There was a wall in front of him which impeded his movement. He was trapped. Sharp, sour panic surged in Haru's throat, but he tried to swallow it down. Fretting wouldn't get him anywhere. He had to be calm. He turned, disoriented in the dark, and reached out once again. But just like before, his movements were halted. There was another wall in front of him. A gently curving surface which felt immovably staunchly solid. Oh no, is he in a well? Is this a Sadako situation? Is this just like my favorite girl, Sadako? You'll know Sadako. The bestie with the hair. Haru pushed against this wall, but it refused to budge. Haru stretched his arms out yet again, groping about in the darkness like a blind man. But it was all in vain. There was nothing he could do. It is a well! Oh, how exciting. Haru looked up desperately, hoping to find some means of escaping overhead. This, however, also proved to be fruitless. He could see the night sky, but it looked very far away. The round, pearl-like moon faint. The sight of the sky only made Haru feel even more alone. Where was he? Disturbed, he began to shiver. It was cold in the dark wherever he was, and he could feel moisture beginning to soak through the soles of his sandals. His teeth chattered. He didn't know where he was, and he was fast beginning to panic. Was there enough air to sustain him? Would he suffocate? His heart was beating fit to burst, and his breaths escaped from his mouth in frantic, juddering bursts. He was cold. He was hungry. He was thirsty. His whole body ached, and he was afraid. It was so dark he could have been dead already. But if he was dead, why did he feel so fearful? Somebody... Haru called out into the darkness. Or at least he meant to. He felt so anxious, however, that his voice did not carry. It sounded hesitant and uneasy, most unlike himself. Somebody, please! Anybody! Can you hear me? Don't leave me here, I'll die! If you don't come back, I'll really die! Please! Oh God, please! Haru's cries grew more frantic with every moment that passed, but nobody replied to him. The air remained still, stagnant, and utterly silent. Haru's voice echoed about him, a chorus of 2, then 4, then 8 ghostly Harus wailing in tandem for a rescuer who would not come. His parents were not there. Sakurako wasn't there. Kisho wasn't there. He was all alone. That was all the more reason, however, to keep calling. If he gave up now, he would die. He was sure he would die. The knowledge of his own imminent death swelled inside him like a blooming flower, and this knowledge was so awful it was enough to drive him insane. Haru's fingers scrabbled against the walls which surrounded him. His nails broke off, splitting from the brute force of his attempted escape. But the resultant pain which flared through him wasn't enough to make him stop. Please! You can't leave me here! Somebody help me! Don't leave me to die! I'll do anything! Oh? Anything, Haru spun around, alarmed. He could hear a voice issuing from the darkness which surrounded him. A voice which was colder and even more unforgiving than the blade of any knife. The voice echoed about him in a discordant symphony. It sounded almost as if a dozen different people were addressing him at once. They were all laughing at him. How amusing. You should choose your words more carefully. Otherwise, you'll come to regret them. What if I asked you to kill that companion of yours in his sleep? What if I told you to slit his throat? Would you be willing to do that? What? Haru gasped. What little air he still possessed knocked out of his lungs. An unpleasant writhing sensation had taken root in the pit of his stomach, a sensation which made him think of squirming maggots. There was a foul stench in the air. It clung to his clothes, and it clung in his hair. It was overwhelming. What are you talking about? I'm only asking what you would be prepared to do to escape. Is that so very wrong of me? You might have some principles now. But that'll change when you've been stuck down here long enough. Eventually, you'll mean what you said. You really will be willing to do anything to escape. You would murder your closest companion. You would even be willing to sacrifice the whole world. But your resolve doesn't matter, you know. There's only so much you can do when you're trapped down here. That's something I had to learn the hard way. A figure emerged from the darkness as Haru watched. A figure which was faint and indistinct. The figure was blurred at the edges, their facial features melting together. Haru wasn't able to get a good look at them, but he could see that they weren't so very tall. It was probably... No. It was definitely a young girl. Ah, hi, Wolfie! How are you? I'm having a great time. I'm getting to voice a spooky character, and I love it. I'm relishing the joy of voicing all these creepy little lines they're saying. Haru thought that he had seen her somewhere before, but... I screamed, and I screamed, and I screamed, but nobody heard me. You'll be lurking where you do some D? Some D? Are you getting lucky or just eating? That's the real question. Oh, well, you D some D. You're doing D&D. Oopsie, oopsie, oopsie. I misunderstood. I hope you have fun with D&D. Congratos. Nobody came for me. No, it's okay, Jackie. I was also like, ooh, he's getting... Ooh. I was excited for him, too. I was like, ah, Wolfie times. But it's okay. D&D is pretty good, too. I made all sorts of promises with all sorts of gods. I bartered, and I begged, and I pleaded. And when that wasn't enough, I threatened. I did everything I could think of to escape. But nothing worked. I was left to languish down here, lost and forgotten, and all alone. And do you know what? Oh, she's cute! I'm adopting her. This is my new daughter, everyone. I have chosen a new child to add to my family. This is my daughter. I will be teaching her evil, because that is what she's clearly good at. I will be nurturing her talents. The girl took a step forwards. Her features came into focus with the single step, the blurry outline of her body sharpening. This is all your fault. It's because of you that I ended up down here. Big brother. I thought that I could trust you, but you were just like all the others. You betrayed me. You left me to rot down here all on my own, for centuries. And I'll never, ever forgive you for that. The girl took another step towards Haru, her pale face twisted into a grimace. I love her so much, she's so cute, my little baby. She reached out, her ghostly fingers extended. It was impossibly dark, but Haru could still see the girl. He could see the creases beneath her eyes. He could see the dark, messy mop on her head, which passed for hair. He could see her outstretched arms, which were alarmingly pale and even more alarmingly skinny. He could see her flesh, as the sleeve of her kimono branched up around her elbow. He could see her fingers, which were almost skeletal. And he could see her fingernails. They were peeled back, like the bark of an old tree, and the beds of her nails were bright red. Tips of her fingers were stained with blood. What had happened to her? Haru stood there rooted to the spot, his heart tight in his chest from fear as the girl approached. She reached out. Then, she took hold of the front of Haru's kimono. Her fingers squeezed the fabric of his outfit. Ah! I'm not good at screams. Oh no. Hi Toshi, thank you for the hit pets and hydrate. You gonna look? Okay. With a cry which was embarrassingly loud, Haru jolted awake. He sat up on the scattered straw. One hand pressed to his chest and glanced around. He could still smell the foul, fetid stench in the air which had stopped his nostrils. He could still hear the dripping of water as it splashed onto the floor about him. And he could still feel the impossible, indescribable cold. He remembered the face of the girl he had seen in his dream. Her skin pale as a corpse and her arms inhumanly skinny. He remembered the sensation of her fingers as they wound about the front of his kimono. He remembered her leaning in to whisper curses at him in a voice which throbbed with hatred. Ugh. But he didn't want to recall much more than that. His dream had felt so very real it seemed impossible that was all it was. Could it have been an omen? Or some sort of vision? Haru glanced about, feeling more than a little disoriented. He hoped that the sight of Kisho lying in the hay beside him might soothe his worries, and for a brief few moments it did. Oh, for goodness sake! But something else soon captured Haru's attention. The sky didn't look as it should have. It was crimson. The monsters must have sniffed them out. They were here, staring at them from beyond the barn. And when one of them roared, its ears flattened back. Haru felt a chill go down his spine. Fucking hell. Kisho, who must have been awoken by that menacing growl, rose to his feet. He looked dishevelled. Dishevelled or disheveled? I think it's dishevelled, yes. After lying down, and a few pieces of straw were threaded through his hair. His eyes were blurry, only half-lidded. He seemed prepared enough, however, to fight, because his fingers found the handles of his daggers. Kisho deflected the blow of a monster which had reared up out of the shadows, and sighed. These things just won't give us a break, huh? Don't they know it's rude to interrupt us when we're trying to sleep? Haru, who was engaged with defending of a monster of his own, replied tersely. We should count ourselves lucky they had the patience enough to wait until we woke up. The people at the inn weren't so fortunate. Yeah, suppose you have a point. Still. There was a steely clangor, teeth on steel, as Kisho repelled another monster. It'd be nice if they could knock it off. I'm getting pretty sick of all this fighting. Sure would be nice if we could give peace a chance. I agree. Though I do not think that these monsters will be amenable to any discussions. This is even worse for me though. I'm the only one who can actually kill them. Heh. That's another good point. I guess I'll leave all the hard parts to you then, young master. Maybe I'll try and catch a bit more sleep. You do that and you'll be a dead man. Quite literally. I'm not going to protect you if you can't be bothered to at least try and contribute. And besides, I think you've got things backwards. Weren't you supposed to be protecting me? I know. It's just a joke. Forgive me, young master, for trying to lighten the mood. If it was meant to be a joke, it wasn't a very funny one. Now. Haru deflected another blow with the flat of his sword, then swung it, decapitating his quarry as it slipped through the air. Can you try and concentrate, please? We have something of a situation on our hands. Alrighty, I'm on it, boss. You don't have to worry about me. So just keep doing what you're doing. That was the general plan, yes. Haru turned to the right, facing down a monster which leapt at him. Then just as quickly he spun to the left, his sword glinting. He caught another monster through the head, skewering it, just like Kisho did the fish he fought at the riverbed through the mouth. This blow was a fatal one, even for an unearthly creature such as this. The monster could not recover from having its skull cleaved, and it soon disappeared. Haru did not have the luxury of taking pride in this achievement, however. Soon another shadowy mass was upon him. Haru did not know how many monsters had come to attack them, but there must have been at least a dozen. They were all snarling, all howling, all salivating. The monsters all looked identical, and they shared in one common goal. They all meant to take Haru's life. Facing off against so many brutes might have been intimidating in the past, but Haru had now become accustomed to it. His father's sword seemed to move almost of its own volition, rippling through the air as it cleaved through these fiends. Haru felled one monster, then another. He was making short work of them, his father's sword shifting with the slightest pressure. Haru was confident in his own swordplay and in his footwork. His self-confidence was unassailable. He was so assured of his own victory and so very wrapped up in his task, he did not think to pay Kisho any mind. Ah! Which was why Haru did not see the precise moment during this skirmish when Kisho lost his footing. He did hear, however, the shocked, strangled scream which forced itself from Kisho's throat. When Haru turned, his hair fluttering, he saw Kisho sprawled on the ground, his weapons scattered on the straw. Haru did not know how Kisho had tripped, but it didn't matter. Haru could see a monster descending upon Kisho, its jaw parted in a fierce snarl. It meant to sink its jaws into Kisho. It meant to kill him. Haru couldn't let that happen. Oh, no you don't. Haru dashed forwards, his sword in hand, but he didn't have enough time to angle his blade. All he could do was stand there as the monster's teeth sank not into Kisho's head, but his own abdomen. Ugh. The pain which flared through Haru's body was sharp, sudden, and almost unbearably intense. It felt as though he had been exposed to an open flame. A sanguinous stink filled the air, one which Haru had grown uncomfortably accustomed to during his travels. It was the stink of blood. The shadowy monsters which Haru cut down might not have been able to bleed, but Haru could. He was only an ordinary human, despite the extraordinary powers which were imbued into his father's sword. He would still ooze crimson if struck or sliced, and that was precisely what was happening now. The monster's obsidian jaw was splattered with gore. When it drew back its head, Haru's flesh came with it, his skin stretching, then snapping, like mochi which had been pulled too tight. Haru gasped in agony. His left hand instinctively pressed against his side in an attempt to staunch the bleeding, but it was already too late. The moment he pressed his palm to his wound, it was stained a thick, viscous crimson, like the pulp of a smashed strawberry. Haru's head was beginning to reel. He was worried he might be sick from the pain, it was so intense. Haru! But Kisho's concerned cry snapped Haru back to his senses. Haru knew he wouldn't be the only casualty if he succumbed here. Kisho would die too. Kisho couldn't fight with these monsters on his own, only Haru could, with his family's sword which he still clutched. Haru wouldn't let himself fall here in a dilapidated old barn surrounded with straw. He was going to press onwards. He and Kisho would get out of this alive, and then they would arrive at Kazemaura. They would break this curse, and they would do so together. Haru would not let his journey be in vain. You fucking bastard. Haru spat this sentence at the monster, each word a sharp staccato burst. As he spoke, he kept one hand pressed to the wound in his side, while he tightened his grip on the hilt of his sword with the other. He narrowed his eyes, inhaled, then he struck. The blade of his sword sliced through the air, seeming to rend the fabric of reality as it shifted. And it struck true. The blade sliced through the monster's neck with such ease it was almost laughable. The blade met no resistance as it cleaved through the monster. The monster staggered back, letting loose a howl as it did. The howl seemed to shake the barn's very foundations. The ground beneath Haru's feet rumbled, as if he had been caught up in an earthquake. Then there was nothing. The monster disappeared for good, its body scattering like ashes in the breeze. Haru exhaled, his task accomplished, and hilted his sword. Then he began to sway. His vision was starting to blur. The stink of blood was sickening. He'd been able to ignore his wounds while he fought, but now his adrenaline had failed him. It was difficult for him to overlook the pain which coursed through him. The monster might have vanished, but the wounds it had inflicted were real, and they remained. Ugh. Haru winced, his fingers pressing down hard against his wound. That was... pretty reckless of me. I guess that's what I get for not paying attention. Fuck! Kisho scrambled to his feet. He hurried over to Haru, whose body was swaying like a stalk of barley in the breeze, and pulled him to his chest. What was all that about, young master? Huh? Haru looked at Kisho dazedly, his eyes half-lidded, his gaze unfocused. What was all about what? You know what I mean. Why'd you have to dive in front of me like that? Oh, I guess I wasn't thinking. Obviously not. You didn't have to put yourself in harm's way like that, not for my sake. I would have been just fine on my own. I had everything under control, you dummy. Huh? Haru pulled a face. You say that, but it sure as hell didn't look like it, you jackass. I'd like to see you try and defeat one of those monsters while you were lying on the ground. I doubt you'd be able to do it. You raise a good point. You're really banged up, though. I've not gotten you undressed yet, and I can tell that wound's pretty nasty. You want to sit down? I'd like to take a look at that if you don't mind. Humph. Haru harumphed as he sat down, or at least he tried to. It was difficult to sound suitably perturbed when his wound hurt so much. Well, I'd expect you to take a look at it, at the very least. Lying on the cold, hard ground. Oh no, Jackie! Trouble, trouble, trouble. I knew you were trouble when you walked in. And now I'm lying on the cold, hard ground. You didn't do much in that fight other than get in my way. So you might as well make yourself useful. Yeah, rub it in, why don't you? You ain't doing my manly pride many favours here, young master. But you're obviously in pain, so I'ma let it slide. Now, let me take a look. New CG! Woo! Ignore the fact that he is brutally injured, thanks. This is a nice, pretty CG. Look how cute Kisho looks. He's all fluffy and worried. Look how stressed he is. It's lovely. Oh, this is actually very lovely. He looks pristine for being brutally wounded, of course. He's a noble son. He's not some brute. Like a whole fight in one, or yeah. It's a very pretty scene, not gonna lie. It's very pretty. Kisho knelt down beside Haru, then asked Haru to loosen the neckline of his shirt. This Haru did, though not without complaining. Haru's injury still hurt, but exposing so much of his skin before Kisho's roving eyes was having a rather curious effect on him. One which was distinctly different to the pain of being gored. Look at Kisho's cute little pouty, worried face. I like that Kisho is a pouter. It's cute to me. He's always kind of pouty. He's like, It's very cute. Very girly pop. Haru had felt similarly in the hot springs when he had seen Kisho naked. Why did being around the other man make him react in such a ludicrous manner? Haru knew he had to control himself, but... Haru started, his eyes widening as Kisho lay his hands upon him. It was the sensation of Kisho's fingertips against his skin, more so than anything he had done, which made Haru wince, but Kisho still drew away. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Didn't hurt you, did I? No, I'm alright. You don't have to fuss about me so much, so please, don't hold back. Don't hold back, eh? Kisho chuckled lightly. You're making it sound like I'm about to take a jab at you. That, or you want me to make love to you? Haru gritted his teeth together once again as Kisho's curious fingers skittered around his wound. His face began to turn pink. Fortunately for Haru, however, Kisho was too busy examining his injury to pay this too much heed. That was a relief, if nothing else. Get real. As if anything like that would happen. Yeah, I know. I'm well aware of how you feel about me, young master. You don't exactly mince your words. I don't think I'd be in with a chance, even if I hadn't screwed up back there. But now you're wounded. I reckon any strenuous physical activity will be off the table for a while. Making love included. It'll have to wait. Kisho cannot stop himself. He's like, man, this boy is so pretty I cannot stop myself from saying something immensely flirtatious at any given moment. He's too pretty, I can't stop myself, it's a problem that I don't care about. I'll just keep doing it without worry. As if there was any chance of that happening. Idiot. Haru pouted, feeling sorry for himself as Kisho tended to him. Kisho wiped down Haru's cut with some water, which he fetched from a nearby river. Then he wrapped Haru's wound as carefully as he could. This completed, Kisho drew back to admire his handiwork. Oh look, there's a bandage on him in the new CG. Kisho had wound the bandage as tightly as he dared around Haru's wound to staunch the bleeding, but the white cotton was already beginning to turn pink. Kisho's expression darkened. Then he sighed. Well, I don't think you're at risk of dying. You're acting plenty pissy, so you'll probably be fine. Pissy? Haru scowled. How am I being pissy? How aren't you? Kisho gently flicked Haru's forehead. You literally called me a jackass earlier, and an idiot. Don't think I've forgotten that. That's because you've been acting like a jackass and an idiot, moron. Why? Because I took care of you. You only had to take care of me because you got me into this situation. Cleaning up after your own messes doesn't make you a saint. I guess not, no. But I am pretty worried about you. Why? I thought you said I'd be fine. You will be fine. But I don't think you should be moving around too much, not with an injury like that. It's too deep. I'm not sure if you should be riding a horse in this condition, or walking too much for that matter. Your wound might open up again. Then you'd be in real danger. I don't really want to risk it. So maybe we should postpone our journey. You can't push yourself. What? Haru stared at Kisho aghast. His wound was still throbbing. Haru could tell it was still bleeding, but that wasn't enough to dissuade Haru from their travels. They couldn't turn back now. I have to keep going though, you don't understand. She's waiting for me. She? Who is she? She... Haru opened his mouth and closed it. He thought of the girl he had seen in his dreams. The short, slender, whey-faced girl whose eyes had been bright red, and shuddered. He didn't know how to describe this girl to Kisho, largely because he didn't know how he would describe her, even within the confines of his own head. Talking about her would make him seem like a lunatic. But this might have been a foolish worry, particularly given all the insanity he and Kisho had witnessed already during their journey. Was one airy, barefooted little girl who spoke to Haru in his sleep any lesser believable than the monsters they had faced against? Kisho would believe him if he spoke of the girl. Of this much he was certain. Kisho wouldn't judge him. But to speak of the girl would make her seem even more real, and Haru did not want to do that. This whole situation, the blood-red sky and his family's curse and the disfigured monsters, which meant to harm him, was unnerving. Perhaps it would be better if he didn't mention it. They hardly needed another thing to worry about. Well, whatever. We can always have this conversation later. Save it for a rainy day, maybe. I don't know if you're in a fit state to be giving a whole speech right now, though. You look dead on your feet. I'm sitting down, though. On your ass, maybe, then. Kisho snorted, then ruffled the top of Haru's hair. You really are picky, though. I was trying to be discreet, doesn't do, you know, to talk about fair maidens' behinds. But you always gotta split hairs. You can be so contrary. Says you, when you insist on calling me a fair maiden. This ought to be apparent, given we've spent so much time together, but I'll reiterate. Blah! The words. But I'll reiterate. I'm really not a woman. Well, I can tell that much. You don't have any tits, for one. But you're as temperamental as any woman I've ever met. You don't have half a temper on you. You don't half have a temper on you. Maybe it only looks like I have a temper because you bring it out of me. You're incredibly irritating. Do you know that? I've heard it said once or twice, yeah? Or maybe thrice. Maybe so. I feel like that's still quite a conservative guess. Probably. I think you called me annoying a couple hundred times since we started travelling together. Maybe you ought to take my criticisms to heart then. If you acted upon this dire character flaw of yours, you might be able to improve yourself. Maybe I could. But that sounds so boring. Not being annoying, you mean? Exactly. I'm perfectly fine the way I am, so I don't see why I gotta change. And besides, you can't find me all that annoying. Otherwise you wouldn't have jumped to my rescue like you did, playing the hero. You were so cool. My heart just about skipped a beat. Keisha gave the top of Haru's head another ruffle, this one more vigorous than the last. It isn't as though I particularly wanted to rescue you. My body moved without thinking. It was just a reflex. So you reflexively jump into harm's way to rescue guys you think are annoying, huh? I don't make a habit of it. It's only happened the once so far. It isn't a situation I often find myself in. I can believe that. This is all pretty new to me too, the whole fighting for my life thing. When vicious monsters are concerned, I mean. People do say new experiences keep them young. They do indeed. If you hadn't been there forever though, it would have kept me forever young. I swear, I saw my life flashing before my eyes. And I can't say I liked what I saw. It was all pretty depressing, to tell you the truth. But that's all behind me. We're both alright, or at least I am, thanks to you. You're a bit beaten up though, and I can tell you're tired. Your insults aren't quite as cutting as they usually are. Forgive me if my riposts aren't quite up to par. I did lose quite a bit of blood. I know you did, I saw. I was pretty frickin' worried for a while there. But you still have enough energy to call me annoying, so I'll say you're well on the mend. You won't get better if you don't get some shut-eye though. I bandage your wounds as best I can, even if I ain't no doctor. So I reckon it's past time you try to get some rest. That isn't a poor idea, I suppose. I know, right? It's one of my better ones, in fact. I ain't just a pretty face after all. But what about the monsters? We might have driven them away for now, but there's no guarantees they won't come back. If that does come to pass, I need to be prepared. I need to get some sleep. Otherwise, you won't be of any use to anybody, not even with that fancy sword of yours. You ain't going to be pulling off any moves if you're half asleep. But if the more of those monsters attack us, then I can protect you. Can you really? I can certainly try. I don't have the best track record when it comes to looking after other people, but I'll attempt it. I know you like to think you're some cool loner, Haru. But you gotta learn how to delegate. Won't you let me worried about you? Well, Haru bit his lower lip. Then, feeling unusually abashed, he glanced downwards. Kisho's earnest entreaty had stirred some emotions within him. Haru still found Kisho annoying, but this rare display of sincerity was enough to make Haru blush. He appreciated Kisho's concern. But there are a few practical issues with his proposition. It's not like you'd actually be able to help me, though. You and I both know I'm the only one who can actually defeat those monsters. The most you can do is distract them. What? Kisho pouted. Are you saying being bait's all I'm good for? More or less. Wow. How harsh. You wound me, young master. I'm just telling the truth. Defeating these monsters is impossible for you, no matter how well-meaning you might be. Well, yeah. But I'm not completely hopeless when it comes to fighting. I should be able to buy you in a bit of time. Time enough that you can deliver a finishing blow. I think we make a pretty good duo. You say that, but I'll still be the one doing all the hard work. Doesn't it rather contradict your claims that you can protect me? Haru was aware as he spoke that he wasn't being wholly fair. He knew Keisha well enough after the years they had spent travelling together. The weeks they'd spent travelling together, my god, it hasn't been that long. It hasn't been years, goodness gracious. Goodness me, what was I thinking to say years? To realise when Keisha was being serious. Keisha wasn't serious very often. Haru wondered sometimes whether he hadn't been born with the ability. But that was not the case now. It was obvious enough that he had meant everything he had said, down to the very last syllable. When Keisha professed to wanting to protect Haru, he had been nothing but sincere. This had been a touching remark, but Haru found that hard to accept. His mother had spent much of her life trying in vain to protect him. She had sheltered him. Haru knew she had only done so out of love, but that didn't make her love any less stifling. Haru did not want to be subjected to yet more love like this. And there was something a touch embarrassing about having another man want to take care of him. Oh, come on, Haru. Keisha, oblivious to Haru's troubled inner monologue, pouted. Don't be like that. I know I ain't half the fighter you are, but I'm not completely useless. I can still hold my own, and I meant all that shit I said. I really do want to be there for you. You've helped me out a bunch, so I figured I should help you out too. Ain't that our friends should be? Are we friends? Well, aren't we? I've seen you naked before, and hell, you took a deadly blow for my sake. That's got to count for something, right? Haru fell into a sulky sort of silence. He didn't want to cleave to Keisha, but he had a point. They had spent a lot of time together, and they had seen one another naked. Maybe that really did count for something. Well, fine, we can be friends if that's what you really want. I wasn't aware you were so desperate, though. I ain't desperate. But I do think you're pretty impressive. You're working hard, so it makes me want to work hard too. This might sound kind of corny, but your old ass man asked me to stay with you, and that's what I intend to do. I'm gonna do my best. That's all any of us can do, right? Haru looked at Keisha for a few moments. He examined him, his lips pressed together, and eventually... Well, I suppose you're right there. I know you're trying, and it's appreciated. You've helped me out a fair bit already, so... Thank you. If you're determined to care for me, then perhaps I will entrust my back to you. Make sure you take good care of it, though. Oh, I will. You can trust me. It'd be a real shame if a pretty boy like you were to get injured. More injured than I mean you've been already. So I gotta step up my game. I'll keep you safe. I promise. That was sweet. That was very cute. It wasn't long after Keisha had tended Haru's wounds that Haru slept, his abdomen still aching. Night me time? Night me time? Night me time? Night me time? Can we have another nightmare? I want another nightmare, thank you. Please. Begging and praying. He had thought that his sleep would be hard to come by given the injuries he had sustained, but his fatigue must have been greater than his physical discomfort. Ah, no nightmare. Sad. Sad. Very sad. He fell asleep more quickly than he had thought possible and awoke feeling disoriented. Ugh. Haru winced as though burned and groggily opened his eyelids. Still half asleep, Haru glanced around, not fully cognizant of his surroundings. He could hardly remember what had happened last night. but he had vague recollections of being skewered by a monster. Kisho had lost his footing and Haru had been forced to shield him. He had darted forwards and then he had taken a blow which had been meant for Kisho. It had hurt a lot. Haru could remember that. His stomach had ached horribly and he had bled through his bandages during the night. Why then? Did he not feel even a residual flicker of discomfort from his wound? Had his injury healed already? Strange. Very weird and strange. Haru glanced out at himself, still frowning. He lowered the neckline of his shirt, then pulled the fabric down about his shoulders, revealing the bandages about his stomach. The bandages were still stained with blood, but there was less of it than Haru had expected. The bloodstains had coagulated during the night, but they hadn't spread. Surely that was a good sign. His curiosity piqued, Haru reached for the end of a bandage which wound about him. Then, animated by the same curiosity, he began to unwrap those strips of fabric which bound him. Why was there not more blood? And why didn't it hurt? Haru unravelled the last of the bandages which twined about him, and let the dirty lengths of cotton fall to the floor. Then he looked. Gingerly, his fingers pressed against his wound. And soon, to his surprise, he discovered that there was no wound. Strange. Strange, very odd. Huh. It had healed completely. The only evidence that he had been hurt at all were the bandages, which were heavy with dried, darkened blood. Haru's skin, meanwhile, was smooth and unmarred. How was that possible? It shouldn't have been possible. But Haru had been party to so many impossible things during the last 2 weeks that this didn't feel as strange as it should be. If Haru's bloodline was cursed to fight monsters and the moon turned crimson to herald their arrival, then why couldn't his body heal itself as he slept? Haru had seen the monsters regenerating themselves in a similar way. They had not died initially, even when Haru had sliced their throats. Was his body similar to that of those monsters? Did that make him less than human? These questions swirled through Haru's mind, each of them more pressing than the last, when... Hey there, Sleeping Beauty! Is what I would say. But I can see you ain't asleep right now. It's good to see you're up and about, at least. But what happened to your wound? I couldn't tell you. When I woke up like this, it had simply healed. Healed, huh? I don't know if that's the right word for it. Looks like you ain't never been injured at all. Fact, I'd have to wonder whether what happened last night wasn't a dream, if it went for those bandages. And for the blood, of course. Kisho approached Haru, his footsteps light, and knelt in front of him. You don't mind if I take a look, do you? Be my guest. Gee, thanks. My intentions are purely medical, but I figured I might as well ask beforehand. I wasn't sure how comfortable you'd feel in me getting all handsy with you, especially not this early in the morning. Oh, I don't mind it. I'm used to your audacious ways by now. Haru exhaled as the back of Kisho's knuckles grazed his bare stomach. I'm surprised you had the foresight to ask before you started filling me up. Is that an invitation? I already gave you an invitation and you're already touching me. Now, let's not draw this out longer than it needs to be. How long can it take to examine a wound which isn't there? How long indeed? That's a good question. If there was at least some trace of that cut left behind, I'd feel a little less uneasy about this, but as it is... Kisho continued to examine Haru's smooth, unmarked flesh. His brow furrowed. Well, I'll be. I can't find any traces that you were injured at all. You don't feel any pain, do you? Haru shook his head. Or any drowsiness? I just woke up, so what do you think? Alright, I get the message. I know you ain't a morning person. Waking you up's like pulling teeth, I swear. But geez, this really is unusual. I know young people can recover pretty quickly, but I ain't never seen nothing like this. I'd like to compliment myself on a job well done for tending to your wounds so expertly. But I don't think I can take any credit for this. The men in your family ain't blessed with any healing abilities, are they? To offset the whole curse thing? I don't know. I don't think so. If that were an ability I possessed, I imagine my father would have said something. And speaking of my father, he's missing an arm. If he could have restored it, I fail to see why he wouldn't have done that already. Good point. I've gotta say, this is all very curious. I ain't sure what to make of it. Maybe some kindly passing goddess saw that you were in a pinch and took pity on you. Do you think that's likely to happen? I don't know. I can't say I've ever met a goddess before, but I guess that ain't beyond the realms of possibilities. They like watching after pretty boys, don't they? I am not pretty. Handsome, then. Would that make you feel better, young master? I'd feel better if you stopped talking. My head hurts. Ah, I should have known. Your wounds might have healed up, but I guess that kindly goddess who cured you didn't think to make you any better at managing the mornings. Would have been mighty useful if she could have fixed this defect too. Shut up. Haru scowled and looked away. As he did, however, he found himself pondering. Something Keisha had said struck out to him. Haru knew he'd been joking about the kindly goddess who had taken pity on him. But maybe this wasn't so far from the truth after all. With Haru's wounds miraculously recovered, there was nothing to impede Haru and Keisho's travels. They both ate a simple breakfast and saddled their horses. Keisho did ask Haru as he sat astride his mare whether he was all right, but Haru rolled his eyes in response. I'll be just fine. You ought to know that. My wounds are fully healed. I suppose so. But it never hurts to be careful, you know. Well, thank you very much for your consideration. It really isn't necessary, though. All right, whatever you say, young master. I won't pry. Sure you won't, Haru thought dismissively with a small sigh. That would have been a first. Together, both Haru and Keisho rode to Kazimura, Haru leading the way as he had done consistently throughout their journey. They passed flat fields full of swaying rapeseed blossoms. Is that how it's said? Is that really how it's said? Hang on. It is said that way, okay. It's canola oil. It's the canola oil plant. Right. Why is it called that? Oh. Comes from the Latin word rapa or rapum, meaning turnip. So it's like turnip seed blossoms. Because it's a relative of turnips. It's canola oil. It's the canola tree. It's canola. That's so fucking funny. Latin is not a real language for real. I mean, it is, but what the fuck? Lurid yellow in the sunlight in rivers whose crystalline waters sparkled. Oh my god, that threw me off so hard. That's so fucking funny. Oh my fucking god. Mountains loomed in the distance, studded all over with trees, but Haru paid them little heed. These were not the mountains of Kazimara to which he was journeying. His destination lay further afield, past the rice paddies and the fields full of wheat. The sun rose in the sky until it shone directly above Haru's head. The sunlight was merciless and it beat on the nape of Haru's neck. It was searing enough to be unpleasant, but Haru preferred it to the crimson moon which hung over him when the monsters made their appearance. I thought it might be like Rape. Like, I thought it might be a funny little pronunciation. I thought it would be Rape. Rape. And that felt like... I'm still thinking about it. The sun didn't stand the apex of the sky for long, however. Haru and Kisho continued to travel, and as they did, the sun sank. It was dark when they finally arrived at Kazimara, though. The darkness made the village no less scenic. When the village finally came into view, nestled among the mountains like a flower planted in a pot, it made even Haru exhale. The village was far smaller than Kyoto. Small enough that Haru could see the full spread of it in the valley below. There were only a handful of houses, perhaps 40 or so, which were older even than the most storied of tea houses which clustered Kyoto's cramped streets. The roofs of these houses were made of straw, and the walls were supported with wooden joists. A river ran through the village, bisecting it in two, by which Haru could see a weathered water wheel which turned sluggishly in the chill breeze. Haru had not been to Kazimara for many years, but he recognized it. This was the village he had been born in, where he had grown up. Haru had faint memories of playing with the neighborhood children by the water wheel, and dipping his bared feet into the river during the summer. In these forests which fringed the village he had explored, hunting for butterflies with brightly coloured wings and shiny shelled stag beetles. He had climbed these trees, had flown kites in these fields, had sunned himself on the veranda of one of these wooden homes. He had not been to Kazimara for 15 years, but Haru still remembered it. He had never felt quite at home in Kyoto, but this was familiar. Finally, he had returned home. The Adashima family's household was located near the outskirts of Kazimara, in the shadows of the mountains which fringed the small town. The house looked much like the other houses in the area, with its thatched roof and its wooden exterior, though it was much larger. The house looked less like a home for a family and more like an imperial residence where the emperor himself might stay. The house wasn't large enough to rival the royal palace itself, but it would have made a nice enough retreat for an exalted person who wanted to escape the hustle and bustle of the court. The only factor against the sprawling abode would, Haru supposed, be its location. Kazimara itself was secluded even as far as small villages in the countryside went, and its being built in the shadows of the mountains did not help. There was something a touch intimidating about the building's shadowy facade. But Haru tried to swallow his anxieties. Mustering up his courage, he stepped forth. Smartly, he rapped his knuckles upon the door to announce his arrival, then waited. Fortunately, he didn't have to wait for very long before he heard the sound of approaching footsteps. The door was opened and Haru was greeted by a young woman whom Haru supposed was a servant. The servant greeted Haru effusively with all number of epithets, young master and my lord being chief among them. To Kisho, however, the servant was left less deferential. She smiled to him and she still bowed, but she looked a bit perturbed by his presence. The maid still let Kisho into the house, however, despite the curious looks she shot at him. She assured both Haru and Kisho that their horses would be taken to the stables by one of the male servants. And of course they'll be well taken care of. Then the maid led both men out through the halls, chirruping cheerily all the while. Oh, I'm sure your grandparents will be happy to see you, young master. I've not been working for the Adashimas for very long myself, so I've never met you while you were a boy. But I've heard the master and the madame talking about you. You're never far from their minds. I think they were worried they might never get a chance to see you again before they... Well, you know. The maid's voice dropped in volume to a conspiratorial whisper. One doesn't like to talk of it. But the master and the madame are rather old. They're remarkably spry given their ages. But I do worry for them. It would have been awfully sad if they'd not had a chance to reunite with you. But now that you're here, their spirits should be lifted considerably. Hee hee. She's cute. It was with this girlish giggle that the nameless maid, she had forgotten to introduce herself in her enthusiasm, slid open the door which led to the dining room. The doors parted, and when they did, Haru was graced of a view of a large, spacious room, one even bigger than his mother's home in Kyoto. Haru had thought his mother's home large, but that was nothing compared to the grandiosity of the home in which his grandparents dwelt. The hallway itself had been a twisting, turning thing which had taken rather too much time to navigate. The room which lay beyond it, however, was worth the effort. The living room was vast enough to be cavernous, more than 6 tatami mats across. It wasn't the grandeur of the room which caught Haru's attention, however. His attention had been captured by the man and the woman who inhabited it. Both the man and the woman were elderly, their skin wrinkled and liver-spotted, their hair white. Their backs were hunched even as they sat, and the man's hands, which rested upon the table, looked like claws. Their aged appearances did nothing to diminish the simple elegance of their clothing, however, nor their noble bearings. The man had white, bushy eyebrows and a full beard, which made him look scholarly, like a philosopher. His green eyes, meanwhile, were surprisingly sharp and focused, despite the obvious number of years which wore upon him. They were keen, bright eyes of a man half his age, one who was full of childish curiosity about the world around him. The woman, meanwhile, wore a kimono which managed to look luxurious, despite its simple pattern. Her hair was piled into a complex bun, and skewered through with several jade pins, which were expensive while being understated. Upon her face, she wore a gentle smile, one which spoke of a fair temperament. The woman, his grandmother, Haru supposed, looked to the maid who had escorted her guests, then bowed her head. Thank you very much for bringing my grandson here, Satsuki. That shall be all we require of you for the present. Would you mind waiting outdoors, lest we need your services again? I'll call for you. Certainly, madame. I hope you all have a very pleasant evening. Satsuki bowed her head, then hurried off, sliding the door shut behind her. Haru's grandfather watched her depart, smiling amusedly as he did. Then he chuckled. That girl is always so full of energy. I don't know where she gets it from, living with a couple of old-timers like ourselves. I can't imagine our company is all that diverting, but she always seems so cheerful. It'll be because of the stable boy, I'll wager. Satsuki seems rather taken with him. Is that so? Haru's grandfather Toshizo stroked his beard, still smiling. I didn't know how Satsuki had a soft spot for him. But these old eyes of mine aren't what they used to be. Oh dear, you say that, but you've never been very adroit when it comes to understanding a woman's feelings. It took months before you realized how I felt about you, and I wasn't being particularly subtle about it either. I was beginning to lose all hope. I thought you were simply uninterested, which was why you kept rebuffing my advances. Yes, I remember that. Like you'll ever let me forget it. I wish you wouldn't throw my boyish ignorance back in my face so much. Not when I've done all I can to make amends. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Ahem. Toshizo cleared his throat, then looked at his guests. Haru, my boy, it is really as good to see you again. It's been too long. Grandfather? Grandmother? Haru greeted his grandparents stiffly, suddenly feeling rather awkward. He was unsure what would be the most appropriate way to remake their acquaintance after all these years. Perhaps he ought to embrace them. Was that how grandchildren acted around their grandparents? That would have seemed too intimate, however, given how long it had been since they last spoken. Haru had possessed few memories of his father before seeing him again, but he possessed even fewer of his grandparents. He thought he could recall visiting them in this grand house, but he must have been very young back then. The memories were too faint for him to grasp. Like fog, they seeped between his fingers. His awkwardness must have shown on his face despite his attempts to hide it, because Rikako smiled at him encouragingly. It's all right, dear. You don't need to feel uneasy around us. We won't ask anything of you that you might feel uncomfortable with. All we want is for you to feel at home. That's right. We won't start making demands on your affection. We've not been part of your life for long enough to feel owed it. Though this was no choice of our own. Michiko hadn't gotten into here to whisk you away, we would have spent much more time with you. But what's done is done, I suppose. And I know Michiko had her own reasons. I presume she told you about them. I was told enough, yes. Good. Then that ought to save us the explanations. I presume you know why you're here. And it isn't, unfortunately, for pleasure. As happy as I am to reunite with you, my boy, your destiny is a heavy one. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, let alone my own grandson. I cannot help but feel for you. But before we discuss the particulars... Toshizo looked at Kisho curiously. Who is this young man who is travelling with you? Yes, that is a good question. I cannot say I recall him. He isn't your retainer, is he, Haru? A retainer, huh? I guess that ain't too far from the truth. It's what his old man, Mr. Adeshima, I mean, is paying me for. My name's Kisho, and I've been tasked with taking care of the young master during his journey. The fact he's in one piece right now can all be attributed to yours truly. It's nice to meet you. Well, I'd not heard about any Kisho. But if you've been as instrumental as you claim in keeping my Haru safe, then I have nothing but words of thanks to give you. Any friend of my grandson's is a friend of mine. Ha! Well, thank you kindly. I think the young master here might object to me being a friend of his, sadly. You know me too well. But he at least puts up with me, which is all I can really ask for. You haven't minded travelling with me all that much, have you, young master? Humph. Well, you haven't been as difficult as I thought you might, at least. Heh, I'll take that. Thanks very much, young master, for the compliment. You're too kind. No, I don't. I think your standards are simply too low. Rikako watched as the two men bickered, then laughed. My. It would seem you two get along even better than I imagined. How nice. Do they get along? It seems to me like they've been arguing ever since young Kisho here introduced himself. Oh dear. Do you remember what I said about you being dense? If you can't tell how close they are, then there really is no hope for you. Now, why don't the pair of you sit down? You must be tired after your long journey. I'll have Satsuki prepare some green tea for us, and I'll get the servants to make us some food. That ought to perk your spirits up. I love how she immediately clocks like the vibe. She's like, my grandson is being a bit of a moron, but he likes this man. I should help them. She's like, I sense gay energies in the room. Good for them. Their spirits look plenty perky if you ask me. I'm surprised I can argue so much after being on the road for so long. But that's young men for you. They're a tenacious sort. You can tell that I'm just not used to doing voices at all. My voice work is not that good, oh no. Why? I remember when I was that age. Toshizo descended into reminiscences as Rikako summoned Satsuki. She had the young servant prepare them some tea, and she asked her to relay a message to the kitchens to start cooking. I'm mostly annoyed with the granddad voice. I don't know what to do with it. It's kind of working, but I feel like it slips into Kisho voice so often. No, Kisho isn't family. Kisho is not related. I have no excuse there. Satsuki departed with a bow and returned with the tea only a few minutes later, balancing the cups and the teapot on a tray. No, Haru is the twink. Kisho is the rough and rowdy guy. Haru sipped at his tea, engaging in idle conversation with his grandparents all the while. Or rather, he listened to his grandparents making idle conversation while he remained quiet. He felt tired after his journey, and he wasn't in the most sociable of moods. Haru's spirits lifted, however, when several servants entered the room laden with platters full of delicious food. There were so many different dishes made with such an eclectic range of ingredients, Haru was unsure where to begin. Rikako must have seen the perplexed look on Haru's face because she laughed. We didn't prepare too much food, did we? There is quite a lot of it. Are you trying to fashion me up? I admit you are a bit scrawnier than I imagined you would be, dear. Toshizo here was quite a large man in his prime, and so was our Yukinari. They both have monstrous appetites even now. You'd be surprised at just how much food Toshizo can go through when he puts his mind to it. I thought you would be more like them, so I instructed the cook to prepare extras. Don't feel the need to try and eat everything, though. We can always let the servants eat what we can't finish. I think they'll appreciate it. Yeah. Your appetite must be something else, old man. I mean, Mr. Arashima. If you're used to eating as much as all this. I don't think I've ever seen this many dishes in one place before. Not even back at your mother's place. That breakfast was fancy, but this is something else altogether. Well, this meal is a special event. It is the first time that we've seen our grandson in over 15 years. I thought it called for a celebration. I suppose so. Now, how does that make you feel, young master? Seems like you're pretty popular. Well, I would hope so. These are my grandparents we're talking about. Haru examined the food dubiously, his hands resting primly upon his lap. But I really can't eat all of this. You'll have to help me, Kisho. I'd be more than happy to. As your partner, it's my job to lend you a hand whensoever you might need me. Now, what do I want to try first? Kisho dithered for a few moments, glancing between the various dishes on offer, before he began to pile various foodstuffs onto his rice. This is delicious. It's the best food I've ever tasted. If I died now, I'd do so a happy man. This really is exquisite. Humph. Haru frowned. He couldn't say he was particularly impressed by Kisho's table manners, but at least he no longer talked with his mouth full. That was something of an improvement over his earlier habits, if nothing else. Haru, for his part, did not eat too much. He found he did not have much of an appetite, despite the many miles he had traversed. He ate sparingly, like a baby bird. His morsels prim enough that Toshizo frowned. Now what's all this? Why aren't you eating, Haru? This food was prepared specifically for you. Yes, that's right, dear. Eat it up. It would be a waste not to. You need to be more like your friend here. He seems to be enjoying himself. Too true, Rikiko. Everyone knows the best way to measure a man is by his stomach. Haru set his chopsticks down, his expression guarded. He was unsure whether this was a real expression. He had never heard it before, but it did little to stimulate his appetite. My apologies. This food is delicious. I do not mean to reject your hospitality. I am simply uneasy. Uneasy? Rikako frowned. Is that because of what you mean to do tonight? Haru nodded. We've been travelling for over a fortnight. In the beginning I could think of nothing but reaching Kazimala and relifting this curse, but now... Well... I don't want to cast a pall over our reunion, but I've been having... strange dreams. Dreams? Haru nodded. I don't remember them when I wake, but they feel very vivid while I'm asleep. It's almost as though they aren't dreams, but visions. Or maybe memories. I've been hearing voices too, the closer I get to Kazimauda. And these voices are louder now than they ever have been. It's all a bit unsettling, so you'll forgive me if I'm not too hungry. There is a lot weighing on my mind.
Well, I can understand that. It's normal to have bad dreams after facing off against those monsters. They used to give me nightmares too, when I was your age. But what's all this about hearing voices?
Did you never experience such a thing?
I can't say that I have. It sounds very curious. What have these voices been saying exactly?
It is strange, but it feels as though these voices have been guiding me here. They've been telling me to come to Kazimauda. Or, to be more precise, it's mountains. I think that's where my destiny lies.
Ah, yes. I can't speak much about these voices, but it makes sense that you feel drawn to the mountains. That is where these monsters were first sighted.
Do you think that's where the monsters came from then? My father said he suspected as much, but he wasn't certain.
I would presume so, yes. I can't see why this might be the case, but the monsters have always been more numerous among the mountains than anywhere else. If you mean to best these monsters, then that is where you ought to travel. I was able to steal them away myself when I was younger, with the help of a shaman and my trusty blade. The steal did not last for long, of course, but Yukinara was able to finish what I could not. He also thought that he had sealed away those monsters. But then the earthquake happened, and that seemed to break the seal. Those monsters always find a way to come back, no matter how hard we try. But perhaps you will be the one to change this, Haru.
Heh, that's an awful lot of pressure to put on your own grandson. Ain't you worried he might crack from the pressure?
What? Huh? What?
Toshizo glared at Kisho indignantly.
Are you suggesting that my grandson might be a craven coward?
Ah, no, nothing of the sort. I've been travelling with Haru long enough to know how brave he is. He doesn't seem to fear these monsters at all. It's real impressive the way he can face off against them despite them being so... well, you know. I just think it's a lot of responsibility to bear is all. Asking him to eradicate the world of these monsters for good. Especially when none of you were able to do it. Why do you think my young master will have a greater shot at it than anybody else? Good fucking question. They've been doing this for generations. Why is Haru suddenly like the best at it? Kisho is like very bright. He is very wise and clever. He picks things out of sentences, the hidden meanings of things. And he's like, hang on a minute. What's going on here? What's the situation?
I suppose that is a fair question. But I might as well ask you this. Why do you think my grandson won't have a greater shot at it than anybody else?
That's a shit argument. Okay? Straight up. I hate it when someone asks a question and then someone's argument is like,
but consider my question though. Consider how my question like changes the whole situation.
It's so annoying. Have a real argument or just don't try. Yeah, he just learned about this whole shit like a couple of days ago. He's like less prepared than other generations, arguably. He hasn't been sword fighting for like his whole life. He's been a woman, so he hasn't had like physical fitness training for so long. It's pure luck and bloodline bullshit probably that he's actually good at this. This is crazy.
Well, if you're his partner, you should be more supportive of him than anyone.
No. Supporting your partner is good, but you should also question them when they seem like they're walking into danger. You should be there to make sure they don't walk headfirst into things.
Haru might be my grandson, but you've spent more time with him than I have. That means your encouragement will have more weight than mine. That being said, I would ask you to remain optimistic. That is the only way we can ever hope to vanquish those wicked beings for good. And it would be unfortunate for you if my grandson could not complete his task.
And why's that?
If Haru can't break the curse himself, he'll have to entrust this task to his own son, which will be impossible if you and Haru are as close as my wife seems to think.
Okay, that's funny. They just came out and said it. That is funny. I don't like Toshizo. But this is funny. He has his moments. Oh. Huh? What do you mean?
Sure you ain't suggesting.
Oh, never mind my husband. He's simply telling one of his little jokes. He might not look it, but he has quite the wicked sense of humour. Isn't that right, dear? She's like, shut up, shut up! They need to figure it out for themselves. You can't rush them. You'll fuck it up for them.
Toshizo chuckled. It's as my wife says. I might be an old man who has led a troubled life, but I'm not above a little mischief.
That man ain't joked a day in his life. He has apparently got like a jokester spark to his eyes. But, yeah.
Sometimes, making audacious remarks is worth it, if only to watch young'uns squirm. I hope you can forgive me.
Right.
So, that was a joke. Naturally. You do not think I truly suspect you and my grandson of being in a relationship, do you?
I suppose not, no. That'd be kind of crazy. Keisha's like, fuck, reality. Whoops. Although if that were the case, I'd have no objections. It's been so very long since I saw my grandson, I'd like to support him no matter what. Haru has been so fucking quiet this whole time, and it's really interesting to me. He's like, just absorbing everything that's going on. I believe that is what family ought to do. You're so right. Rikako is at Pride. Keisha, who had taken a sip of green tea, choked. Abashed, he spat his mouthful of tea onto the table. Something which made Rikako tut. Oh no. Oh dear. It seems like that tea must have gone down the wrong way. Are you alright, Keisha?
I'm fine. Sorry about that.
It's quite alright. It happens to the best of us. Rikako giggled girlishly, masking her mouth with one hand. Oh, she's so great. Haru, meanwhile, had wearied of this conversation. Uninterested in discussing his private life with his grandparents, he said, I will do my best to defeat the monsters which lurk in the mountains. I cannot promise that I'll be able to vanquish them for good, but I shall do my best. Are you not worried about letting me stay here, though? Those monsters seem to be drawn to me. Or to the sword that I wield. If we spend too much time with you, I fear harm may come to you.
I'm well aware that the sword attracts these monsters, but worry not. Our home has been blessed to ward off evil, as has the base of the mountain itself. Those monsters cannot breach our defences easily, though they have tried many times in the past.
They tend not to appear before midnight either. If you set off before then, no harm should come to us.
Yes, indeed. It is not until the midnight hour, when an old day cleaves to the new, that the moon turns red. A foul, unpleasant stench fills the air like burning sulphur from the depths of hell itself. And our world is invaded by demonic enemies from another.
Haru didn't speak, but he did feel a shudder run down his spine. He had always found the monsters unnatural, but he had not considered they might have been downright demonic. Had they come from hell itself? It did not seem like an impossible supposition.
Haru.
Toshizo saw how Haru shuddered, and his face softened with paternal concern.
I know that this is a lot to put on your shoulders, particularly when they're so slender. You'd best believe me that if I could, I would be fighting alongside you. As my precious grandson, I'd do anything to keep you safe. But I'm an old man. I can't go traipsing around in the mountains at my age. I'd be more of a liability than anything. I can pray for you, though. And so can Rikako. Isn't that right, dear?
Naturally. I know what those monsters are capable of. I've seen their ravages firsthand, though I've no idea how many people they've killed. In that sense, our Yukinari was lucky that he only lost an arm. He was quite an impressive fighter himself in his prime. But you are his child. The blood of the Arashima family flows in your veins. If anybody can best these monsters, I'm sure you can. Again, why do they think that our generation suddenly has like a bam, like a big win guaranteed for us? I don't get it. It's so weird. Haru felt a faint tinge of unease as he was shown through the darkened hallway of his grandparents' home by their smiling young maid Satsuki. He had memories of visiting this grand home in the past, of playing hide-and-seek with the servants in the hallways while his mother scolded him and told him not to bother the grandparents' maids. He could recall watching too as his grandmother cooked alongside the servants in the kitchen, of going for walks in the ornamental garden with his grandfather. Haru had been close to his grandparents when he had been young. He remembered that much. But those memories had faded over time, like autumn leaves in the coming of the winter. They were so distant they felt almost as if they belonged to somebody else, a stranger who just so happened to share Haru's name. It had been many, many years since Haru had last come here, but despite that he found himself recognizing the calligraphy framed upon the walls. That potted begonia on that stand. The begonias must have been new, but the vase was something he remembered from his childhood. The house hadn't changed at all. It was a strange feeling, almost disorienting. It felt, with every step Haru took, that he was descending deeper and deeper into the mists of his own half-remembered childhood. It was almost as if he were regressing, going back in time. This sensation left Haru feeling oddly melancholy. He couldn't help but wonder about his parents, about what sort of relationship they might have had if their family hadn't been afflicted so with this curse. Would he and his mother have stayed together? Would Haru, too, still live in Kazimura? Perhaps if it were not for this curse, his grandparents would not have been veritable strangers. Perhaps he would not feel so uneasy. These anxious thoughts dogged Haru long after Satsuki showed them to their room, then left. I like that Haru is having this, like, very deep emotional thinking, and I just know Kisho is, like, walking alongside him, like, being like, oh my god, am I gay? Maybe I do want to fuck the young master. Oh my god, the jokes weren't jokes. It's real. I just know it. I fucking know it. He stood frowning, feeling like an interloper in his own reminiscences. Would you just look at this? This room's nice. Your old folks sure pulled out all the stops, huh? But Kisho's cheery voice soon drew Haru from his reverie. He was glancing about the room that Haru's grandparents had prepared for them. The room which they found themselves in was akin to Haru's bedroom at his mother's Kyoto home, though it was even more spacious. The floor was made of tatami, and the walls were a pale, inoffensive beige. Blah. Pew, pew. Give me walls with colour. I know the era was just what they did, but it's annoying. At least they have stuff on the walls, you know? That's true. They have colour. They're not beige torturing themselves completely. 2 futons had already been prepared, and they were spread invitingly on the ground. The sheets, soft and fluffy. Oh, it's been a while since I've slept in an actual bed. It's going to be so nice. These sheets were spotless, so much so Haru suspected they'd been washed and hung out to dry specifically for his arrival. His grandparents' kindness was touching, but Haru's response when he gave it to Kisho was unenthusiastic. It is rather nice, I suppose. You suppose? Kisho raised an eyebrow. I know you're a wealthy so-and-so, but even you have to appreciate that this place is something else.
It's like a palace in here. Now you're just being silly. It's what I do best. Believe me, I know. Haru had no idea how Keisha could look so unconcerned, particularly when his own thoughts felt so very jumbled. Haru, I think that Keisha is like always kind of stressed about stuff, and he just like is like, well, that's life, and he just carries on. Like this is just how he functions. Haru had little energy to assess his room, not when he was too busy thinking of the task which awaited him. His father had told him that it was his destiny to break the curse which had plagued his family for generations, and his grandfather had reaffirmed this story. If Haru had any doubts about his future, they had been erased. It was his job to venture deep into Kazimauda's mountains. Once there, he would have to do battle with the vicious monsters which dwelt in the dark, shifting uneasily in the shadows. Would he be able to best them, though? Would he emerge with a missing arm as his father had, or a missing eye, a missing leg? Would he fail entirely and lose his life? Haru's destiny felt like a precarious thing. So much so his palms were beginning to feel clammy. He hadn't felt fear while facing off against the monsters in the inn, blood-stained though the walls and the floor had been, but he felt fear now. How could he not feel uneasy when after this night everything would change? Oh, thank you for the hydrate, Hester. We have been reading for a minute since we last drank, haven't we? Kisho's thoughts seemed to echo Haru's because it was in an unusually pensive voice that he said, I guess this really is it, though. Took us a while to get here, but it's the end of the road now. Yes, I suppose it is. We really have come a long way. Stay hydrated? Oh, but I have to read. I'm doing my best, don't worry. You're telling me? I ain't never been this far away from Kyoto before. I was so ignorant, part of me thought Kyoto was the whole world. It's been nice being able to travel a bit, see some of the sights. Even if a lot of the so-called sights we've seen have been pretty nasty. I concur. This was hardly a pleasant ramble across the idyllic countryside. Our lives were in danger more often than not. You know when they say what they say though? Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We've endured some pretty crazy shit to get where we are now, me and you. And I'll reckon there's even crazier shit waiting for us. I get the chills thinking about facing off against even more monsters, but I'm sure we can do this. I'm not a gambling man, but I like our odds right now. I mean, who'd win? A couple of guys from Kyoto, or one ages-old curse that's endured for generations? I know who I'd put my money on. That's probably why you had to resort to a life of crime. Your intuition seems somewhat shaky. And what do you mean, if we stay together? What do you mean, what I mean? It should be pretty self-explanatory. We've got to stick together, ain't that the way of things? It was, I suppose. But now? You haven't got sick of me, have you? Don't tell me you want to be rid of me. He's pouting again. Kisho loves to pout. He's like, every time something is just rude, mildly. It's not like I want to get rid of you, per se. But I'm sure that the monsters I'll face tonight will be stronger than any of the rest. I don't know what it is exactly that dwells in those mountains, but I have a feeling. So true, Hester. 99% of gamblers quit before making it big. So true. So true and real. That is why I joke, but I have a really bad, like, I need to be so fucking careful with gacha, and I need to be so fucking careful with shopping and things, because I have addictions. Like, actual addictions. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I have, like, actual gambling addictions. I had to, like, really just go cold turkey because I was just like, this was in high school. I had gotten my own phone and I had access to things,
And throughout high school to like very recently, I had like a massive gambling addiction that was like ruining my life. To do with gacha, internet games, that sort of thing, app games, all sorts. Although beautiful anime woman, and so I've just been so fucking careful and strict with it nowadays. Haru let his voice trail away. He was unsure how to put this feeling into words. Haru had always been sensitive to shifts in the atmosphere and in the earth beneath him. But here in Kazimara, it felt like there was something severely, unsettlingly wrong. It felt as though there were things squirming beneath him, innumerable, inhuman things, all featureless, which were full of resentment. But this feeling was impossible to express. Unsure of how to make himself understood, Haru instead said, I just feel like there's something very wrong about this village. I know we've travelled together for a couple of weeks, and you've helped me a lot. But I wouldn't feel comfortable letting you come into the mountains with me. It'll be too dangerous. Ugh, now you're sounding like your mother. I'm a grown man, and I can take care of myself. Why don't you worry about you a little more, huh? I am worried about me, though. I'm so worried about me, I don't have the time to worry about you, too. It's stressful enough thinking I might not return from the mountains without having to factor your safety into things, too. If you come with me, you'll only slow me down. Oh? Is that what you really think, young master? Am I a burden to you? No, it's... Fuck. Haru cursed under his breath and began to massage his temples. It felt like his skull was throbbing. I don't think you're a burden. You've more than pulled your weight during our journey. You've showed me time and time again that you're reliable. I've been lucky, really, being able to travel with you. But that's exactly why I don't want you coming with me. I don't mind putting myself in harm's way, but I don't want to do that with you. It would seem irresponsible. Oh, yeah? Well, right back at you. I beg your pardon? You're talking about how you want to look after me, which is very sweet, by the by. But you're not thinking about yourself. Your father asked me to come with you so I could look after you. I won't be able to watch you back if I'm stuck here, though, will I? It'd defeat the purpose. And if you wind up being blown to bloody pieces, I don't know if your old man would feel too inclined to give me that reward. Ah. So that's what this is about. I should have known. It's what this is about in part. But I know you well enough now, young master, to know I don't particularly want you to get blown into bloody pieces either. Your welfare is a business concern, yeah. But it's a personal one as well. I like you too much to risk letting you die in the middle of nowhere. Well, thank you for the compliment. I'm glad you like me. You shouldn't mix business with personal affairs, though. It's a recipe for disaster. Maybe so, but it's too late now. I'm coming with you, and that's final. Gods give me strength. Haru rolled his eyes heavenwards, appealing to numerous deities for support before looking back at Kisho. But what if you get hurt? What if you get hurt? It's part of my job. I'm prepared for the worst. And you think I'm not? You must not think very much of me, Haru. No, I don't. It's the exact opposite. If I didn't value you so much, I wouldn't care, but I do. Just... don't make me be more explicit than that. Oh? Now this is a rare sight. You're actually blushing. Don't tell me. You aren't trying to protect me, are you? So what if I am? Don't make it sound like it's a problem. Where's the issue, huh? And being concerned about my companion? Companion, eh? Haru thought he saw Kisho's eyes widen at this remark. But the moment soon passed, and Kisho's surprise was replaced with that wry, cocky smile Haru knew so well. Now that's funny coming from a gloomy guy like you. I don't know you thought me so highly as all that. I'd always thought you thought I was just some guy you'd been saddled with. Unless I was reading the room wrong. No, you weren't. That is how I saw you in the beginning. Your company was foisted on me. I did my best to endure it, but it was aggravating. I didn't like you at all. Well, I figured as much. That makes me even more curious now, though, about where I stand now. You said we were companions. I would like to think so, yes. At least, that is how I've come to regard you, after all we've been through. And after everything you've done for me. These words forced their way out of Haru's mouth as a cry, punctuated not by an icy, unfeeling period, but an exclamation mark. Haru's shoulders were trembling. His whole body felt as though it was being shaken by the force of his feelings. They were so strong they threatened to overwhelm him, but Haru still soldiered on. He had endured worse before. Confessing how he felt wasn't so scary, really, not compared to the sight of Sakurako's kimono stained bright red. I can't let you come with me. Not when you've done so much for me already. You might have annoyed me at first, but I know you're not a bad person. You've been doing your best to look out for me since our journey began. So I have to look out for you now. If you were going to get hurt like Sakurako... Haru shuddered violently. If you died, like all of those people at the inn. If that happened, then I'd never forgive myself. I'd not be able to live with the guilt. I don't want you to get injured, Haru meant to say. Because of me. The words were on the tip of his tongue like the words of a well-remembered childhood lullaby, but... It's happened! Woo! Cheers all around, babies! It's gay! It's gay! We win! Haru was unable to vocalize them. Kisho had leant in. Then very softly and unexpectedly sweetly he pressed his lips against Haru's in a kiss. The kiss was a gentle one, but it made Haru gasp regardless. His face turned bright red, just like a berry. Or else like the vivid crimson moon which shone from between the parted clouds whenever the monsters appeared. Haru sighed against the kiss, his lips parting from the sheer shock of it all. It wasn't that he was trying to invite Kisho to deepen the kiss, not necessarily. But he wouldn't have been opposed to the idea. I knew it. If Kisho had used the opportunity to slide his tongue between Haru's parted lips, Haru mightn't have minded it. Certainly he would have been able to endure it. He would have scolded Kisho for such an improper act after the fact, of course, but... It's alright, Haru. Kisho drew back. His face flushed, his lips damp from Haru's saliva. You don't have to try so hard to explain yourself. I ain't the smartest guy out there, but I'm not a complete idiot. And I think I get what you're trying to say. I know that you're worried about me. And I get that you might feel guilty, letting me accompany you on this last leg of our journey. It's true enough that facing off against these monsters ain't my cross to bear. It's yours. My family ain't the one with cursed blood. I could escape from this place easily, my tail tucked between my legs, and nobody'd try and hunt me down. I don't have any reason to risk my life, really. Certainly not for your sake. This really ain't my battle. It's none of my business, really. But there's one crucial fact you ain't considering, young master. That being... If you want to talk about me risking my life, well... I didn't have much of a life. Not before I met you. My mother's dead. I've no idea where my old man is, and I couldn't look out for my sisters. I was all alone. I had to scrape by robbing old folks and young women who were too genteel to chase after me. People who couldn't, in other words, fight back.
I wasn't exactly proud of what I was doing, but it was the only way I could live. If I had not started stealing, I would have starved. I continued to take advantage of people because it was the only way I knew how to get by. It wasn't much of a life, though. I was cold and hungry more often than not. And I was miserable alongside it. I lived so as I could keep breathing. But I didn't have any particular goals. I didn't have any ambitions. I was so busy just trying not to die of hunger. I didn't really have that luxury. My life was pretty shitty. But things have gotten better since then. Since when? Since I met you, of course. But you already know that. You just wanted to make me say it. Keisha grinned while Haru blushed. Was he so very easy to read? You're pretty shameless, young master. But I don't mind that. Keisha laughed very softly and leant in, brushing the tip of his nose against Haru's. You can ask me to compliment you flat out if you like. I'd be only too happy to oblige. You deserve nothing but the fondest of remarks I can muster, even with my limited vocabulary. I mean, if it wasn't for you, I'd still be living on the streets. I'd be scamming old women, and I'd be getting by well enough, but I'd still feel awful. It's not been like that with you, though. During these last couple of weeks, when we've been traveling together, I don't know. I guess I felt like I finally found my purpose. I feel like I'm part of something important now, something meaningful. When I'm with you, fighting alongside you, I feel like my life might be worth a damn after all. It ain't a feeling I'm used to. It's pretty intoxicating, actually, feeling like I'm part of something important. I never figured human scum like me would have the chance. What? You aren't... Scum, Haru meant to say, but the look in Keisha's eyes made him pause. Keisha's expression was intense, his brown eyes practically blazing. Keisha's face was so close to Haru's, Haru could feel Keisha's breath upon his cheeks. His skin tingled and a blush began to burn on his cheeks, a blush he could not stifle. It was true enough in that in the beginning, Haru had thought that Keisha was scum. He could not deny that. Now, however, I was scum. You don't have to try and sugarcoat it. I know you didn't like me all that much. But it's fine. I didn't like me very much either. There wasn't much of me to like. But I want to turn over a new leaf now that I'm with you. I want to protect you. Won't you let me watch your back? If not for your sake, then for mine. This might sound like a selfless request, but I assure you it ain't. I'm traveling with you because it makes me feel better about myself. I've been enjoying it. So won't you let me be selfish for just a little while longer? Keisha, you... Haru stared into Keisha's eyes, held captive by the fire, which continued to blaze in his brown irises. He inhaled. Then shakily he said, "You're infuriating." "I have heard it said, yeah." "Because I always say it and I stand by it too. You're incredibly aggravating in all sorts of ways, but when you talk like that, I can't help but fall for me. Is that what you want to say?" "No, hell no, don't get any crazy ideas. I'm not in love with you, but I do like you. I like you enough not to want you to get hurt, at least. But I can see now that I'd be wasting my breath if I told you to stay here." "You really are stubborn." "You know it." "Does that mean you're going to let me come with then?" "I don't think I have much of a choice in the matter. Even if I told you to stay put like a good boy, I know you wouldn't listen to me." "Well, of course, I'd follow you to the ends of the earth if I had to, young master." "That's how much you mean to me." Kisho. Haru. For the second time that night, Kisho leant in. This time, however, he wasn't the only one. Haru too moved to meet him, parting his lips in expectation of the kiss which followed. Kisho claimed Haru's mouth was his own, their lips overlapping. This kiss was just as gentle as the last and just as considered, but Kisho didn't stop at simply pressing his lips against Haru's. Instead, he took advantage of Haru's size, perhaps realizing that Haru did not mean to push him away. Haru wanted Kisho to kiss him even more, and he wanted to kiss Kisho in turn. That seemed like a far better way to pass the night than worrying. I am not reading all the moans. You got a couple out of me, chat, and you have to live with those alone. Haru sighed as Kisho continued to kiss him over and over. His lips were damp from saliva. Both his and Kisho's mixed together and they were beginning to tingle. But he did not stop. Yeah, Jackie, this is a pretty good way to pass time. They're not wrong. At this point, he didn't think he could stop. His body felt like it was on fire. The rest of the world seemed to melt away, growing dim and faint as the kiss continued. It lasted on and on, long into the night. As everything else faded away, I think that's where the sex scene would have gone, guys. That's such an abrupt shift. I think that's where the sex scene is supposed to go. Either that or it's at the very end of the game when everything is resolved. Yes, I'm very wise. I'm so clever, you know. I can read things and I understand how things are supposed to usually flow. Jeez, this place sure is creepy, huh? Haru didn't deign to respond to Kisho's question. He did not think it necessary, not when the answer was so blatantly obvious. Haru hadn't been walking through the mountains for very long, but the tall trees which towered above him were numerous. The trunks of these trees were broad and wide, and their boughs were festooned with leaves. These leaves might have been greenish yellow in the day's light, but in the cover of darkness had rendered them little more than silhouettes. We need to find the well that's in the forest that she got trapped in. We need to find the well, and we need to find her body, and we need to release her from her torment. That's what we need to do. I know there must be a well in this forest that she fell down centuries ago, and that's how everything started. We need to find her so bad. The leaves were so dark, they might very well have been dipped in ink. Haru walked on in near complete blackness, his green eyes straining for any sign of movement. It was quiet at the moment. You think she fell in? You know, she might have been pushed. Yeah, true. Might be a dark secret about the family that they're covering up. Yeah, someone might have thrown her in there. Absolutely, it's definitely possible. It was quiet at the moment, but Haru was fully expecting to be set upon by an array of monsters at any time. Haru peered through the forest, his senses keen as he tried to find any telltale flashes of red amongst the trees. His right hand as he walked rested uneasily upon the hilt of his sword. He would not let any monsters get the better of him. Haru walked on, taking care where he placed his feet in the dark, when Haru gasped. His foot slid out from beneath him, his ankle twisting. Then he was falling. The bitingly cold air forced the breath from his lungs. Alarmed, he gasped in surprise. Ah, cute! I could be just about to die, but this is cute. Haru! But his body never hit the ground. Kisho was there a split second later, widening his arms about Haru's waist. Are you alright? Haru looked at Kisho dazedly. Without Kisho there to support him, he would hit the ground as gracelessly as a sack of flour. Kisho's company was a relief, though Haru didn't appreciate just how tightly he held him. Jackie! Haru, we don't have time for another round. We must stay focused! We must stay focused! He knew Kisho was worried, but I'm fine. But I won't be if you keep squeezing me like that. It's hard to breathe. Oh, right. Sorry about that. I guess I was a little worried is all. I wouldn't want you to break your leg, not in these god-forsaken mountains. I have to carry you all the way back to your grandparents' place. And let me tell you, you ain't as light as you look. I don't know if my poor back would be able to deal with the strain. Humph. Well, it's a good thing that I didn't break a leg. You're fussing over nothing. I guess. Must be my big brotherly instincts rising to the surface. Not that I think he's my brother or anything after everything we've done. That'd be kind of wild. I concur. Haru rolled his eyes, but there was no malice to it. Kisho's cheery mood had helped comfort him. Feeling slightly more assured, Haru continued to push on, taking more care as to where he placed his feet. Guided by the incessant humming in his head which grew louder the deeper he traversed the forest, Haru eventually happened upon a clearing. The clearing did not seem particularly significant at a glance. But Haru was assailed by a nigh-on overwhelming sense of wrongness as he glanced. He had a strong feeling that something had happened in this clearing a long time ago. Images rippled across the surface of his mind which felt more corporeal than the grass beneath his soles and the wind which stirred the leaves on the trees. It was faint, but Haru thought he could hear a girl's voice carried on the breeze. She was crying. Or maybe she was screaming? The girl's voice grew louder and louder until Haru's temples throbbed. He winced and pressed a hand to his head. The pressure of it was intense. He felt as though his skull might shatter. It seemed unthinkable that Kisho could not hear it, but... Hey Haru, you alright? You're looking kind of pale there. Ugh. Haru grit his teeth, then let his arm fall to his side. He shook his head. It seemed like Kisho couldn't hear the girl sobbing after all. Maybe only men of the Arashima family were privy to it. Those with cursed blood. Not wanting to make Kisho worry, Haru said, I'm fine. You don't need to fuss. You sure? You're shaking like anything. I'd ask if you need to sit down and take a breather. Kisho scanned the clearing, squinting through the darkness. But I don't know if there's anywhere to sit right now. Unless you want me to carry you. No, thank you. The thought of being carried in Kisho's arms was embarrassing enough that it made Haru forget the girl's sobbing. He scowled at Kisho, red-faced, a rebuke on his tongue. Be serious, won't you, for once? When... Ah! Haru gasped. The moon was round and full like a pearl, but it was no longer white. Hi, Needles! How are you? I hope you're doing well. The clouds had parted while Haru had been nursing his headache, and now he could see that the moon had turned a familiar shade of red. The malice Haru had detected in the air, writhing and squirming like so many maggots, now felt even more concentrated. It was so thick he could have choked on it. There was a foul smell which hung in the air, one which made Haru think of rotten flesh. Oh, pasta check. Ugh. Stretchies. Ugh. Hydrate. Oh, I'm sorted. Kisho, I think we have bigger problems to worry about than finding a place to sit down right now. Shit. Kisho cursed under his breath, eyeing the ring of trees which fringed them as he did. Trees which surrounded them were illuminated by bright red spots. These spots looked a little like fireflies, but they were much too intense for it. Haru could recall watching the fireflies as they flickered in his mother's garden with Sakurako when he'd been younger. But they had not looked like this. Looks like we have company. These lights were not lights at all, but eyes glowing red irises, which belonged to the vicious monsters Haru and Kisho had been fighting. You just woke up? Oh, I hope it was a good sleep-in. Sometimes you need those. Sometimes those are required, yes, yes.
Not so friendly doggies, no. They did try and bite a hole in Haru's side last time we encountered them, so not so friendly, I would say, no. Haru had only faced off against them in small groups before, but now... Well, I never. Look at how many of these things there are. Ain't it nice they're giving us such a warm reception? There must be, what, 10, 15, 20? Shit, how many of these things are there? Haru didn't know. And neither did he have the time to count. He barely had the time to gauge how many monsters there were before they were upon him. Fuck. These things sure as hell ain't playing around, are they? 2 of them dove right straight at my throat. You're not the only one. They're awfully eager. Damn, I didn't know being this popular would be this tough. Stand back, you monsters. I ain't afraid to fuck you up. Fortunately, I don't think they're afraid to fuck you up either. Well, yeah, I did figure. They really ain't showing any mercy. There was a clang of steel against enamel as Kisho deflected the salivating maws of the monsters which were upon him. He stepped back, fighting off 3 quarries at once while 3 more dove at Haru. The monsters were salivating, their red eyes radiating bloodlust. If Haru had been attacked by this many monsters only a week prior, it was doubtful whether he would have been able to face them. His fear would have overwhelmed him. But Haru knew he could not afford to succumb to his anxieties now. He had promised Sakurako they would return to her, and that was what he had intended to do. He would not break his word. And neither would he let Kisho down. Haru didn't want his partnership with Kisho to end here, in a forest in the mountains. So Haru met the monsters without hesitation. His sword cut through the air, seeming to slice the fabric of reality itself. It cleaved through the monsters, decapitating both of them in a single blow. Whew! You gotten pretty good with a sword, young master. That was impressive. Well, I would hope they have improved. We've fought enough of these awful creatures between the 2 of us. Well, you ain't wrong there. If you keep fighting like that, there won't be anything left for me to do. That was the general idea, yes. Huh? You trying to steal my thunder? Hardly. I've never cared about impressing people. I just want to keep you safe. So you're going to bear the burden of killing all these rich things on your own? That was the general idea. I mean... Haru swung his blade, slicing another monster through the throat with its sharpened edge. You can't kill these yourself. You don't have the ability. Well, I know that. You don't have to spell it out for me. I'm starting to feel like chopped liver here. But I ain't got to sit this fight out. I don't reckon these things will let me rest on my laurels in any way. Kisho twisted, then struck out at a monster which had, while Haru was occupied, approached him from behind. I've got to watch your back. True, very cute chopped liver. Like, he's very cute with it. He's all pouty and adorable sometimes. It's like, oh, baby girl. You might be good with that sword, but you don't have eyes on the back of your head. Haru gasped. He'd been so busy fighting he had not realized that he had come so very close to falling to a surprise attack. If Kisho hadn't been there, that monster would have dealt him a fatal blow. Huh, well, thanks. Good job. No prob. I can tell you're doing your best, so I'm going to step things up too. I ain't about to let these monsters get the better of me. Me neither. Let's do this. You've got it, partner. These mutts don't stand a chance. Haru's blade rippled in the darkness, slicing through yet another beast which approached him. Time seemed to collapse about him as he moved. Haru didn't know how long he had been fighting. Perhaps it didn't matter. As he fought, Haru recalled the very first monster he had faced in his mother's Kyoto home. Back then, there had only been one monster to worry about, yet it had given him no end of trouble. Despite his best efforts, Haru hadn't been able to land so much as a single blow against it. His knife might have pierced the monster's flesh, but he hadn't been able to injure it. Haru no longer had to rely upon that knife to fight, however. Instead, he brandished his father's sword. Why are we using the long hair CG?
A small mistake, I'm sure. When slain with the sword, the monsters did not get back up again. Their dark, shadowy carcasses shed no blood, but they became incapable of maintaining their own forms. They dissolved like spun sugar did in the rain, bits and pieces of them flaking away until they disappeared altogether. With the sword in hand, Haru knew he had nothing to fear. There were more monsters in the forest than he had dealt with before, but Haru still did not falter. He drew his blade in a graceful arc, the steel slicing through the air. There was no hesitation as he struck, nor any trepidation. I know trepidation! It's that bitch in Ooblets! That bitch of a card effect. I hate that thing! All my homies hate trepidation cards. His body felt possessed of a fluid, self-sure strength which was not wholly his own. One of the struggles of not having a 3D model is I do move around a lot when I'm reacting because it helps facilitate my facial reactions to also move my body. Like, it makes it more normalized. And it would be nice to have a 3D at some point so you could see me doing all my bullshit. But that is a very far off dream. Those aren't cheap, and the setup for that also isn't cheap. The tech and everything of it all. But that would still be so cute though, I think. And then I could start learning, and then I could do the dream thing where I learn how to dance, little snippets I learn how to dance things. And I could like upload dance covers, and that would be really cute. The Beautiful Life, where I learned to not be as uncoordinated and messy in a specific, very certain way. The Magical Dreamland, where I'm not a clumsy bitch. I literally almost tripped over a fireplace, like, one time. How do you do that? It's an unmoving block of, like, the house that never changes where it is. How do you trip over that? I'll tell you how. You are washing a cat, and you have damp paper towels, and you have finished washing her with the damp paper towels because it's really not actually washing her, we're just putting moisture on her body because she has dry skin. And then, as you've released her, you're not thinking about your surroundings, and you release her and you sort of back up so she doesn't feel closed in, and you almost trip over the fireplace because it was behind you. Genius movements. And then Mum laughed at me because, of course, that is a very funny thing to do. And she was like, my god, you have not gotten less clumsy. How do you do that? I was like, I just do it, bitch. It's just me. My part of my charm. It's just who I am. My beautiful charms trips over something so cutely. Teehee. Yes, it is part of my beautiful charms. Yes, yes. The more Haru moved, the more certain he became that he was not alone. Just need a partner to catch you. So real. Where is my buff woman to just catch me so beautifully and be like, it's okay, baby girl, I got you. And I'll be like, oh, thank you. Because I don't really swoon to that kind of thing. But I would appreciate it. The love points would stack up, but I wouldn't be swooning, you know? Like, I'd be like, oh, even, like, you're so helpful, I love that. Thank you. It's not very cool to not swoon when someone does that. But I feel like you're supposed to swoon when someone catches you so romantically, but I can't see myself doing that ever. I would appreciate less bruises, yes. That would be pretty cool to have less bruises on my whole body. Andrew stopped a bridge from falling on you. I get why you married him. If someone stopped a fridge from falling on me, I would be very, very moved by their power, and it would move my heart a bit. It would. It's very charming. I'm just imagining a beautiful. It was my fault. It was falling. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whose fault it was. The fact that he saved you is the thing that matters. Definitely worth marrying. If you've got someone who's going to stop you from getting into grievous harm like that, that's beautiful.
power couple moments for real. I was talking about this to Eve recently, and I was like, there's like a trend in like the modern internet and like modern dating scene where people want to be dominated, which is really cute. No haters to them. But I kind of want to be in a power couple, like we're equals. Like powerful equals who each bring their own powerful traits to the table. I think that seems more fun. That's just my personal vibe though. The more Haru moved, the more certain he became that he was not alone. His father and his grandfather were not with him, but he could feel their presence. Their spirits were imbued within his blade, the same blade that they had also handled. With their help, he could defeat these monsters. Some days you want to be in control, some days you don't want to make choices. Real. I want to switch it up. Yeah, I don't want to be always in control. That sounds exhausting. Quite frankly, exhausting. Choosing to be an independent person with a partner. Yeah, pretty much. I want to be my own person still. I don't want to be swallowed by the relationship. Which happens to a lot of people, I fear. I am a romantic. I am very much a romantic sort of person. And that makes me like totally view relationships, I think. I think the way I view relationships is very romantic. But the way I say it sounds so analytical, I think sometimes. It's romantic to me. The romance of, yeah, I will notice things that need cleaning and I will recognize that you can't clean a lot of these things and I'll just do it without you asking me. That's romance to me. Doing like tidying up and cleaning and not having to be told how to do it or being asked to do it is romance. One of the big romance things. Not having to tell people what your interests are for presents, that's romance. These are very basic things I'm realizing. No, it needs to be done and doing because you know your person will feel better. Exactly. Just doing it because it will make the world better for everyone. There's a guy I've seen some shorts of on YouTube where he's just like, people always ask him, how do you do it? How do you clean so consistently? And he was like, my rule is that if I see something dirty, I just deal with it right away. Because I don't want to be that husband who just sits around and the wife is quietly angry about the whole time. Don't want to be that guy. He's like, he has those traits in him, he's aware of that, and he works on it. Like, he used to be the husband for a while, and then he sort of woke up and was like, oh my god, she's so unhappy. I don't want to ever be that guy to her. I need to change myself. And it's really cool. Like, it's almost like self-help talk sort of thing. It's like if manosphere bullshit was like actually like good and healthy. He just sees things like, if you see something dirty, don't just assume someone else will get it. If you're capable of dealing with it, do it yourself. And by capable, we mean like physically abled and awake. Like, just because it's a little annoying, don't leave it there, because it's going to be annoying to the other person. They can do it as well, but it's still annoying to them. Why should you not to do things that are annoying? And they have to do things that are annoying. No balance. It's crazy. If you only do things you enjoy, it's not going to be, like, good. Right, as long as you have time. Yeah, time is also a factor. But that is another thing with, like, the guys. In relationships, they often have, like, excess of time available because of that behavior, that they just have left things for other people to deal with. So they usually have the time, right? They usually have it. They just would rather not deal with things. It's definitely cultural socialization is a part of it. 100%. But you can't just say, oh, it's how we socialize, blah, blah. Okay, are you happy with how you were socialized? Are you happy with your life? Inherently, are you happy with the way you live? And are the people around you happy to be with you? No? You're a fucking grown man. Deal with it. You're a grown person in this world. do the things you need to be doing. You might need to work to make it a habit, to change your brain because it's been so entrenched, but you can do it. I was reading gay stuff, and then I just went, of course, 100%. I do this, don't I? I've been recently told that I'm very ADHD, and I'm starting to... It is in the family, so it wouldn't be surprising. But I'm starting to think about it, you know. I don't have the funds to get any shit done. Remember when they were kissing? I remember. Remember when boys were kissing? Priscilla remembers. Jackie remembers. Then went on to the big fighting. Yeah, just a split screen. Pam pam. So the sex scene either happens then, or it happens at the very end, like the big sex payoff. Because that happens with a lot of like visual novels, is the sex scene. The big sex scene, if it isn't sex all the way through, like some of the hentais, is like way at the end when everything's good and happy. That is sometimes happens way at the end though. It might have just been a bit awkward. Oh, anyway. Haru's footwork was quick and nimble, his every motion coolly calculated. He didn't waste a single second as his blade clashed against the bared fangs of the creatures which surrounded him. A monster dashed at him, meaning to swipe from the right, but Haru sidestepped it. Then he struck. Haru's sword flashed through the air, cleaving the monster in two. The monster howled. The sound was low and rumbling like an earthquake. The uneven forest floor beneath Haru's feet trembled. The leaves which hung on the trees rustled. It sounded as if they were whispering to one another, mocking Haru for his attempts to fight against his fate. These ill portents were not enough to slow Haru down, however. He moved as if dancing, stepping first to the left then the right. He swung his sword, felling monsters as he did. His heads were severed from bodies, but they did not hit the forest floor. They scattered to the breeze before they had the chance. If his arms ached, he didn't feel it. If his feet were sore as they rubbed against the straps of his sandals, he disregarded it. Any wrong move would result in his death. Haru's life was in danger, as was Kisho's. Haru had never been in such a perilous situation before, not even when he and Kisho had fought at the inn. These monsters writhed and undulated like the shadows themselves. They were never ending, a legion of red-eyed beasts who existed for no purpose save causing harm. They would kill Haru if they had a chance. But Haru didn't fear them. He had transcended that base emotion. He fought on and on, his sword flashing in the crimson moonlight, cutting down any beasts foolish enough to approach him. They did not stand a chance against him. As the battle drew on, however, the atmosphere began to shift. The hairs on the back of Haru's neck stood up. His palms were beginning to perspire. He could smell a sour scent in the air, that of death and decay. Something was approaching. Something was distinctly different to the monsters which he was felling. It's big boss time? What that something was, however, Haru could not guess. He did not have the time to guess, nor the luxury. He could only continue to fight. He cleaved through wave after wave of monsters, but his unease persisted. Haru turned, narrowly avoiding the claws of an oncoming beast, and struck. His sword whistled as it cleaved through the air, taking the head of the monster which had almost gored him. It died, its body cleaving into pieces around the sharpened edge of Haru's blade. Goodness me, this is impressive. And as it did, Haru heard a voice behind him, one which was even drier than autumnal leaves. Haru wheeled about, alarmed. It's our daughter! It's my daughter! I love this little girl. And his eyes locked down upon a stranger's. There was a girl standing in the forest, her body half obscured by the shadows. Her hair was so black it seemed to melt into the darkness which surrounded her, and she had quite a lot of it. Her hair hung wildly around her shoulders, even more straggly than the unkempt fur of a stray cat. The girl's hair obscured half of her face, so only one eye was visible, a large dark eye which stared straight through Haru.
The rest of the girl's face, meanwhile, was deathly pale. Her skin was not quite white, not like a courtesan's. It was a sickly greyish colour which spoke of necrosis. She was so short she would have come up to Haru's elbow, and she looked malnourished with it. Her poor grey face was alarmingly thin, and her cheekbones were hollow. It looked as though she had not eaten for days. It was hard to gauge how old she was, but Haru wouldn't have put her as much older than 8 years old. 8! She was so young. Not even a 10-year-old. Jesus Christ! She was still a child. A stunted, skinny one who had known much hardships during her short life. She wasn't the sort of person to inspire fear. She was too pitiful for that. She was in such a state, the most obvious immediate response would have been to fuss over her. How had she found herself in the forest so late at night? What had happened to her parents? Did she not know she was in danger? Had she been a normal little girl, Haru would have asked her any of these questions, but... Haru frowned. She certainly looked like a little girl. But was that all she was? Haru was sure he had never seen her before, not in a corporeal form at least, but still. Oh? What's this? Do you not have anything to say to me after all of these years? I love her grin. Look at that beautiful smile. Hearts, hearts. I'm sending her heart hands. My little baby. My doody, my little baby. Ah! Like a grandmother, I am grabbing her face and I'm going all over her until she is soggy. From nasty old person saliva. Oh, she's so cute! Oh, hi, Shale. Thank you for the head pats and all the stretchies. Oh! And the hydrate. I want you to know that I did in fact do lots of little hard hands at my screen at her. Soggy as well. Thank you, I try my best. Hi, Shale. How are you? I think we're nearing the end, actually. The big battle is about to happen, and I think it might wrap up quickly. Well, not quickly, but, like, we're getting there. I was hoping you'd at least have a hello to spare for me, big brother. Haru recognized her. He was sure he recognized her. She had spoken to him before, but not like this. She was the same girl Haru had met in his dreams. You're not doing good, you're doing evil? Ha ha ha! Excellent! We love to hear it. Hey Haru, who's the girl? She ain't really your little sister, is she? Of course not. I don't have a little sister, I'm an only child. I thought as much. But if that's the case, who is she? That's what I want to know. I have a few suspicions, but... You aren't a human, are you? My. I didn't think you cut to the chase so quickly. You're being awfully ill-mannered. Hee. The young girl giggled. But it was not a giggle which spoke of any mirth. Her laughter was cold, devoid of any particular emotion save scorn. It's impolite to ask such a question to a lady. I thought you'd be aware of that much, big brother, given your upbringing. And what is that supposed to mean? Only that you were raised as a woman. It's funny that you still don't know how to treat us despite that. But men are like that, I suppose. It doesn't matter how you dress. You'll always be thoughtless, careless, selfish brutes. Hey, that's a pretty broad generalization to make. You got something against men? Naturally. It would be stranger if I didn't, given the way that you act. I can't stand the way that you lie. She's so funny. Ah, I'm adopting her. Oh! My grin is so large, I'm going to turn into the fucking Joker, I swear. Ah, I'm going to turn my cheeks. I love her. Oh, I want to pepper little kisses all over her face.
and give her a big bear hug. Ah! Gonna ruffle her hair. She's so cute. The girl took a step forwards, a twig snapping beneath the sole of her sandal. I can't stand the way you cheat. The girl took another step forwards, her hair fluttering. I can't stand the way that you steal. The girl took another step forwards, then another. She was no longer standing beneath the shade of the trees, but the shadows which painted her face continued to shift. They undulated across her pale face as though they meant to consume her. Perhaps they already had. And I can't stand that you betrayed me. But I didn't betray you. How could I? I don't even know you. Maybe not. But you would have, if given the chance. Why wouldn't you? You are his descendant. His blood runs in your veins. If he betrayed me, then I'm sure you would too. You're all cut from the same cloth. I can't trust any of you. You all turned on your backs on me when I became a nuisance. I was your little sister, but you abandoned me. You left me to die in the dark, all on my own. The girl's voice had been raising steadily in volume as she spoke until it echoed through the forest in a desperate, frenzied scream. Her shoulders had been shaking from the force of her own emotions, and her small pale hands had been clenched into small pale fists. The air had crackled with malice as she spoke, as though heralding an oncoming storm. But the girl seemed to remember herself at long last, because she paused. She inhaled. Then in a newly sweet and saccharine voice she said, So now I'm going to do the same to you. I'm sorry to cut our first meeting short, big brother, when I've so much I'd like to say to you. But I don't think words are enough to get across how I really feel. I've had centuries to think about everything I'd like to tell you. But in the end, I think I'd rather just kill you. The girl's face twisted, her whole body rippling. Her eyes shrunk, then shifted, her jaw lengthened, her limbs extended, and her body bent forwards. She altered until she became something less than human. Not that she had ever been an ordinary human to begin with. There were no pretenses of humanity left now, however. Haru couldn't see a single shred of it. The girl's eyes were red, just like the full moon which hung over the forest. Her teeth were sharp as razors, as were her claws. Her skin, or perhaps it would be better described as a pelt, was pitch black. Haru gasped, the air vacating his lungs so quickly it left him feeling breathless. He had thought that there was something strange about the girl, but this was sudden enough to take him by surprise. He had seen many gruesome sights in his journey, but he had never witnessed anything quite like this. It did not feel real, but the monster's angry howl couldn't be argued with. Haru's guts felt frozen, but his fingers were shaking. He raised his sword, assuming the stance of a seasoned fighter, but he knew his best efforts were fruitless. The other monsters he had bested had been difficult foes, but this one was different to the rest. Its desire for vengeance was unparalleled. Haru could feel the monster's hatred in the air. It was so thick he couldn't breathe. Haru's legs were beginning to shake. He tried to hold his ground, sword in hand, but it was a futile effort. The monster was already upon him. It lunged forwards, its jaws wide, its teeth glistening like knives or broken glass in the moonlight. Haru was afforded only a brief glimpse of its maw as it lunged at him. Haru! Oh shit, Haru! And then there was nothing. Haru was drifting, lost in the darkness. He could not feel any physical sensations as he drifted. Not pain, nor hunger, nor the cold. He was insensible to all outside stimuli. The rest of the world had ceased to exist. I'm making this decision as the head of the household. Don't try to talk me around, Ayako. I can't be swayed. I'm doing this for the greater good. The greater good. The greater good. There's that movie. The
The Cornetto Chronicle, Cornetto movies. Cornetto trilogy, that's the one. Hot Fuzz! You all seen Hot Fuzz? Ugh, I've watched that whole like trilogy movies, like the Greater Good, the Hot Fuzz, Shaun versus the Dead. There's the other one, World's End, Shaun of the Dead, World's End. I think Hot Fuzz is my favorite. I don't usually like cop stuff, but this one hit, and it's like dissection of how disgusting village like country people can be is so good, and like it's like. It's dissection. It's like just. It's like they're so angry, and like there's this phrase with like the greater good. They like it's all for the greater good. They're killing kids because they like are messy and loiter and things. Like it's for the greater good. That movie made me so incensed by that phrase because of just how angry it was about this country like old people mindset of how it needs to be like quaint forever, it can't be anything different, it can't change. And I get so incensed when I see that phrase because I know exactly what the fuck they mean by that. They mean it's all for me, it's selfish, it's all about me and what I want. The greater good is a hollow phrase to me, full of selfish bullshit, and I'm glad that I understand that phrase so well because it always hits when I see it in writing now. And I always go, oh, they're a piece of shit. Oh, they suck, actually. Good. Good to know. I'm doing this for the greater good. This is for the sake of our sons. And I'm doing it for you. But Haru could still hear the voices. I don't want to turn my own daughter out of my home, but what choice do I have? We cannot afford to feed her. Oh, that happens. That literally happens. People go, oh, I need to get rid of this kid. I can't feed all of them. It's like, oh, just... Man. If we keep her here, we'll all starve. Me, you, and our sons. Our sons are hard workers. They are useful to us, Yamako, however, is nothing but a burden. And the girls always get hit harder by this thing because it's like the sons are like held up to a higher standard of being. They have, like, prestige just because they're boys. From birth. It would be better if we got rid of her. It might sound cruel. But it is a decision only I, as the man of the household, can make. And it is a decision that I am prepared to carry with me for the rest of my days. As a husband and as a father. No, as a man. I am simply doing what I must to protect the people I care about. I just hope that you will one day be able to forgive me for being so mercenary. My beloved Ayako. Might sound cruel, you deserve the curse. They did for real. I'm not mad that this first family got cursed. That's fine with me. And then they didn't like explain where the curse came from. They were like, no, it can't be because of the kid. No. Or more likely they were like, we can't tell anyone what we did. I don't care that our generations are cursed. We just can't tell anyone. It would be too shameful. Haru had heard this conversation once before, but he had only been privy to bits and pieces of it. Now, however, he felt like he could finally piece together what had happened. And he knew what had occurred as a result of this conversation. Yuichiro and Ayako had lived many years ago, centuries before Haru himself had been born. Ayako had birthed 4 sons, and their family, though large, had been happy. They had not been particularly wealthy, but they had scraped by as best they could. They had all done their best, the 4 sons pitching in when they were old enough to aid their parents. But this changed when 8 years after birthing her previous child, Ayako once again fell pregnant. They hated her for being fertile and childbearing. They could have just stopped fucking. Like, if this was such a pressing concern, you could have stopped fucking in such a way that you would have children. There are other ways to do this situation. They're just ridiculous. How dare she have a pregnancy? Exactly. This baby, the wizened, weak, whey-faced Yamako, had been a mistake. Yeah, no, it's all on her own. He didn't have any involvement in making the baby at all. Nah. And she's a disabled girl too. She's weak and frail, so she can't, even if she became of age, she can't help out like the other kids do. Neither Yuchiro or Ayako had wanted her, and neither could they care for her. They had barely been getting by as it was with their 4 sons. Adding yet another new child to the family was only asking for trouble, especially when Yamako, who had been born too early, had proven to be such a frail thing. I was actually a premature baby. I was meant to be born in January, but I was born a week before Christmas. And the hospital mum gave birth that wasn't the best, and they wanted me to keep me in like one of those premature baby little cases that they put you in because they're like, oh no, she's frail. But mum saw like the hospital as like what it was, and she was like, this is not a safe place, even if she is premature. This is not a safe building for my child to be in. She's going to catch something. She's going to be exposed to something, or you're going to neglect her somehow. And so she brought me home and just soldiered on as best she could, and I turned out pretty well. But it is generally very scary to have a premature baby when you aren't able to deal with it. Especially in this time period when they clearly didn't have support outside of their family, and they clearly didn't have like a medical person around to help that they didn't have to pay. Like there wasn't free medical support either, obviously. The years had passed, and Yuchiro and Ayako had tried to care for their daughter, but the grind of poverty began to wear upon them. It became apparent enough, a little after Yamako's 7th birthday, that they could not continue going as they were. And not if they did not want to go hungry. That was when Yuchiro came up with an idea. He decided that he would have one of Yamako's older brothers, the kind, softly-spoken Keisuke, whom Yamako had always been close to, lead her deep into the mountains which surrounded Kazimura. Tall trees would sprout up around them, shielding them from any onlookers. And obscured by the dark, all-consuming shadows, the ever-dutiful Keisuke would slaughter his own sister. Then he would toss her limp, lifeless corpse into the old dilapidated well which once had been used by the monks in a now abandoned shrine. This task completed, he would wash his hands of his younger sister's memory for good. Yamako's other brothers, ignorant of what had really occurred in the mountains, would mourn their younger sister's disappearance for a day or two, but they would not dwell upon it. They had never liked their sickly younger sister very much. Oh, I want to kill them so bad! Nobody had cared for Yamako, so when she did eventually disappear, nobody paid it much heed. The days wore on, and then the weeks. Months passed. Yeah. The mindset around disabled children has never been very good. There's signs throughout history of disabled people being cared for and supported, but there's also a big awareness of like horrible things like this happening. This is a very real thing that would have happened. Years passed. Everybody forgot about Yamako. I would never forget about you, Yamako. You're my beautiful daughter. Yamako did not forget about them. I'm going to feed Yamako so much yummy food. I'm going to give her a lovely bath, and I'm going to like clean her hair and braid it up into a lovely hairdo, and we're going to put her in a lovely pretty kimono, and then we're going to get her like coming of age photo done. They do that in Japan, right? Surely she's hit that coming of age period already. Like it's been centuries. And then we can do like a cute little photo together and of our little family, and it's going to be so nice. Me and my beautiful daughter who deserves it all. She continued to lie at the bottom of the well, the waterlogged flesh slowly peeling from her bones. She had died not long after she had been thrown into the well. Though her body decomposed, however, her spirit did not. Her thirst for vengeance was never doused. Good! Stay strong, my beautiful girl. Not even by the fetid waters which surrounded her. She vowed as she lay there slowly rotting that she would make her father and her brothers pay for their misdeeds. Fate had not seen fit to punish them. They had, contrary to Yamako's curses, prospered in her absence, so she would have to punish them herself. She would make the men of her family pay throughout the centuries. Then perhaps the fires of her tormented soul would finally be quelled, and she'd be able to rest in peace. That was why Yamako's soul had lingered for as long as it had, but... No, you can't! Anything but that! You can take my life, so please! Don't hurt her! Haru could hear another voice, one which was decidedly distinct from the brusque, matter-of-fact tones Yuichiro had used when speaking of his daughter's fate. It was a low, masculine voice, one which might, under better circumstances, have been suave. It was not so now, however, as the young man pleaded inside Haru's head. Can't you leave her alone? God, please leave her alone. She's only a little girl. What good could come of killing her? What did Yamako ever do wrong? The voice rose in volume, and as it did, Haru's head span. Pain flared up in his temples, sharper than the blade of any sword. There were so many voices crammed inside his skull, all of them begging to be heard, that he could no longer endure them. It was all too much. Haru's body convulsed. He whimpered, then... Haru! Oh God, Haru! Are you all right? Stay with me! Don't die! If you pass away right now, I'll never forgive you. You bastard! Haru winced. Then very slowly he cracked open his eyes. His vision was horribly blurry, but Haru recognized the face which was looming over his. It was Kisho. Oh my God, hi! Oh my God, hi Kisho! Oh my God! It's been so long. We've got a daughter. Haru, oh God, thank God! Kisho was looking down at Haru, backlit by the moonlight. Tips of his hair seemed to glow, which gave an almost celestial look. It was strange to describe Kisho of all people in such a way. But in that moment, he really did look like an angel. I'm so glad you're all right. I was afraid you might never wake up. Huh? Haru looked at Kisho dazedly. His head was still reeling after everything which had happened. His thoughts felt thick and slow, and the base of his skull ached. What happened? You don't remember? Kisho's frown deepened. That girl. Or maybe she was a monster? At this point, I ain't exactly sure. Anyway, she, or it, rushed at you. She knocked you over and you collapsed. You landed on the ground like some sort of... I don't know. Some sort of doll. And you didn't get back up again. I was freaking out, let me tell you. I was afraid you were going to die. It was so still and I was so worried. But I knew I couldn't hang back and watch while the monster finished you off. I figured I had to try and do something to drive it away, but I also knew my knives wouldn't be enough. Oh shit! Hi guys! Alcra64, hi, welcome in! Disabled Streamers Unite, how fucking yeah! Can we get a shout out for Alcor? What were you guys up to? Welcome in, I am in the gay yaoi zone. Super Smash Brothers? I've never played those games. I'm really bad at playing games that don't have stories in them. To be fair. Although I heard there's a story mode, but I don't know how good the story mode is in those games. Like, I don't know if it's worth it, you know? But I did a good stream. Welcome in. My name is Priscilla. I'm a doll. I fear you're an ads. Oh no. I'm Priscilla. I will welcome you once I'm out of ads. Welcome. I will welcome you once I'm out of ads. We must wait. We must wait. I can read a little bit before I get out of ads, I'm sure. I've not been able to slice through any monsters. I'm not that useful really when it comes to combat. Not against these creatures. Kisho smiled. It was a weak, self-deprecating sort of smile which did not suit him. But I did my best. You dropped your sword during that skirmish and I figured you probably wouldn't be able to use it. So I decided to borrow it. We're free from ads. Hi everyone! Oh, thank you for the follow, Alcor. Welcome in, welcome, welcome. My name is Priscilla.
I play a lot of gay stuff, including visual novels. Visual novels are a big thing for me. I enjoy horror stuff as well. I've been playing some like silly games recently. Been playing Ooblets. I played Heartopia recently. Recently I played it yesterday because it like released out of nowhere, and I was like, I was gonna play this on release, but I didn't expect it this soon. And that was really fun. It's kind of an everything goes here, but the main vibe is silly and cute and kind of real. We get real with it. Silly, cute, kind of ADHD, kind of all over the place. We do our best to stay focused, and I think we're coming up. Well, we're not like really coming up to the end of this game, but we're approaching the end at a pace. Welcome in. I hope you had a great stream. You used my family's sword? Oh yeah. I felt a little guilty about using it, actually. I was worried my hands would be too unworthy to touch it, but desperate times and all. I couldn't think of anything else to do. I faced off against the monster and, well... Keisha glanced about the clearing, which was now empty, almost ominously so. I think it went pretty well. Wouldn't you agree? Haru craned his own neck, his head cradled against Kisho's sturdy chest, and was met with nothing save tree trunks. He couldn't see any red, ominous eyes suspended in the darkness, and neither could he hear any unsettling howls. Followed my blue sky as well. Thank you! I also have a YouTube channel. All my previous VODs are up if you want to enjoy my streams that you haven't caught before. When Haru inhaled, he was met with nothing but the smell of the trees and of the earth, vegetal and loomy. It would seem that the monsters really had retreated after all. For the present, at least. I take it you were successful then? Somehow, yeah. I've no idea how I was able to pull that off, though. I don't actually have much experience with using swords, especially not important family heirlooms, which have been passed down for generations. I felt pretty clumsy while I was handling it. My swings weren't anywhere near as graceful as yours. But maybe that doesn't matter. I was able to get the job done in the end. How I got it done still feels like a bit of a mystery, though. I don't think I actually killed that creature. Its body didn't melt away. Not like all the others did after you sliced him. It just seemed to... I don't know. Lose interest, I guess. Really now? I hadn't realized those monsters were so very fickle. Well, that particular monster used to be a girl. Or maybe it still is? I'm not sure. It's all pretty confusing, but... Young girls are known to be kind of flighty. My sisters were the same. They'd always get ideas into their heads, but they'd lose interest after a while. That girl might be the same. She didn't look to be much older than either of my sisters. She might have figured killing me was more trouble than it was worth when I had a weapon. Or maybe she wanted to spar with you instead. She didn't seem too interested in me at all. I presume she was interested enough to try and fight you, though. She barely fought me. It was like she couldn't be bothered. Maybe I just ain't all that excited. But it doesn't matter. It all worked out alright in the end. We're both still in one piece and I didn't get too badly beaten up. I'd call that a victory. I suppose so. Things could have been worse, but... Haru looked at Kisho, his brow furrowed. He hadn't noticed earlier what with how wildly his vision has been blurring. But he could now see that Kisho hadn't emerged from that fight unscathed. He'd been trying to sound unbothered while speaking to Haru. But Haru suspected this might have been an act put on for his sake. Kisho's handsome face was more or less unmarked. Kisho would be happy about that. But small lacerations marked his arms and his chest. The fabric of his shirt, meanwhile, had been cut in several places. Haru did not think Kisho had sustained any wounds which were too serious, but he had bled a fair bit. How had Kisho felt as he had faced off against that monster which had once been a little girl? Had he been afraid? Uneasy? Fighting a girl-turned monster must have been even harder for Kisho than it was for Haru.
Not in the least because Haru was the one with the experience using a sword. The girl must have reminded Keisha of his younger sisters. How difficult must it have been for him to raise his sword against her, knowing what she really was. It must have been required an awful lot of willpower. Keisha had still mustered it, however. He had faced that monster head-on, also he could protect his young master. He had been prepared to sacrifice himself so that Haru might live just a few moments more. And it was this realization which finally penetrated the misty haze inside Haru's head. Keisha, I know what to do. What? I don't know what you're getting at, but I know what you've got to do. And that is... You need to take better care of yourself. I can tell that you ain't in a good way. That monster, or girl, or whatever it is, messed you up pretty badly. I'm relieved you seem to be alright now, but I don't know if we should keep pushing our luck. I wouldn't want you getting hurt again. What are you suggesting then? You don't think we should turn back, do you? It's a possibility, I suppose. It's a possibility, yes. Just like it's possible that I could decide to slit my own stomach with my sword and bleed out into the forest. I'm not going to do that, however, because it's impractical. Just because something's possible, it doesn't mean it's an option. Well, I'm glad you ain't going to slit your stomach open. Those monsters sure as hell will do if you give them half a chance. I don't want to see you getting hurt, Haru. Oh, that's rich coming from you. I didn't want to see you getting hurt either, but you insisted on coming with me. You wouldn't take no for an answer. And it's a good thing I did. If it wasn't for me, you really would have died. I'm not disputing that. You've made yourself surprisingly useful. Surprisingly, he says. How cruel. But if you're going to insist on putting yourself in harm's way, then I don't see why I can't do the same. It's a horrible case of double standards, you know. You insisting that I return to my grandparents when you failed to do the same thing. What gives you the right to tell me what to do when I can't do the same in reverse? That's because it's my job, Haru. I've got to look out for you. And you are looking out for me. You've done a good job, which is why I trust you to keep looking out for me as we continue to explore. What are you talking about? We ain't on a treasure hunt here, you know. Those monsters could come back any second, and that girl too. We'll be in a whole new world of trouble then. I know that, but we still can't retreat, not now. We've come too far. And anyway, I know where we need to go. Yes, just call him a good boy and ruffle his hair, Haru. He'll be happy then. I get the feeling that Keisha would thrive on praise in a very interesting way. You do? Haru nodded determinedly. I saw a vision when I passed out. I think the girl gave it to me. Though whether she did it willingly or not, I'm unsure. She's been talking to me in my dreams for weeks already, so maybe it was on purpose. We've been communicating for quite some time, even if it's been one-sided. And I think I know what her goal is now. I know what her goal is too. She wants to kill you. You say that, but she didn't kill me, even though she had the chance. She backed off when you tried to defend me. That suggests there's still something she wants me to do. I know it sounds crazy, but I think she's been leading me somewhere. She has a destination in mind, though it's hidden deep within these woods. All this time, she wants to show me where she died. Keisha stared at Haru, momentarily stunned into silence. He blinked. Then he said, in a hesitant voice, "She's already dead? She's been dead for centuries. She should have passed on to the next life a long time ago, but something's preventing her from doing that. I'm not even sure if she herself knows why she's still here. But as long as her final resting place remains hidden, I don't think she'll ever ascend. That's why she wants us to find her. She doesn't want to kill us, not really. She needs us. And I'm not going to betray her expectations. She was only a young girl when she died, but she was filled with so much anger and hatred. And so much grief, too. She's been betrayed enough already. I can't turn my back on her too. It wouldn't be right. Huh. Well, Kisho sighed. You're right. That does sound pretty crazy. It's a lot to swallow for sure. But we've seen so much freaky, quite frankly inexplicable shit during these last 2 weeks, it ain't all that strange. I don't know, this girl seems like you seem to... I don't know, this girl like you seem to... Don't know what this girl... Maybe you do have a point. I did think it was funny she didn't kill you outright. If she wants us to run an errand for her, then I guess I can believe it. Are you willing to help me then? I don't know if I'm willing to per se. My good sense is telling me it'd be best if we hightailed off this mountain as soon as possible. Chat, I'm gonna be right back. I need a snack. Enjoy the boys while I'm gone. I have beef sticks. Oh, let's have a sit. Let's have a chill out minute for a bit while we eat my beef sticks. How are we doing, chat? How are we doing? No cheese? Yeah, I don't really want cheese at the moment. I had cheese earlier. Oh, this is annoying. There we go. Let's have these two. Oh, they're almost as big as my monster schlong. They're pretty long, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, beef sticks. They're, Jack Link's brand. I don't know if you know them. Nom 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 nom. What do I look like when I'm eating? I look like I'm talking. Nom 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 nom. This is a good food break if you guys need to go have a piss break or something. Thank you for inventing cows so I can have yummy food. You know, when I eventually meet God, and I do eat him to gain all his powers and become the all-powerful creature that I deserve to be, I will thank him very kindly for making beef real. Just for me. Before I slit his throat and like, gush him so I can eat him properly.
Because you gotta remove the guts, otherwise the meat's gonna be icky. I'm assuming he'll have guts. He might though. He might not though. He might just be like a ball of light. That would be hard to eat. I'll figure it out. Maybe I boil him. Maybe I put him in like a tea jug and I boil him. You feel like God would be hard to fight? Yeah, that's why I'm not doing it yet. Are you gonna slay Ball of Light? It's easy. I'll do a heart pose with my hands and I'll stun him. And then when he's terrified, and when he's like overcome by my charms, I will destroy him. My cuteness is my greatest weapon. Right now. I'll have more weapons one day. I'm planning my weapons. What would God taste like? That's the cool thing, is I don't know, and I'm really excited to find out. I've never eaten a God before. Maybe after I eat him, I can try some other gods out. He's just like my main goal right now, you know? My main goal is to blow up and then act like I don't know nobody. I didn't do the right laugh right. Prepare him in multiple ways like a potato. So true, bestie. I should chop him up in different sections and prepare him in various ways. That's the laugh. My main goal is to blow up and act like I don't know nobody. You know, the guy with the shark teeth grills. Pop. I feel better now. I've had 2 beef sticks and they're very big beef sticks, so I'm good now. Yeah. I'll chop God up into like multiple sections. And we'll fry one part of God, we'll boil another part of God. We'll turn another part of God into a soup. Like we don't know how exactly to prepare God so he's most edible, like yummiest. So we've got to like section them off so we can try them out in various ways, and then we'll take notes on like how each of them work, like how well each of the parts work. Yeah. I love how my model looked when I was eating. That was very fun. I don't know if I'm willing per se. My good sense is telling me it'd be best if we hightailed it off this mountain as soon as possible. Do you think he would answer you if you asked him how to best prepare him? I don't think so. He's kind of a bitch, isn't he? If you think about the kind of things he's done in his stories, he's kind of a bitch. He's like, oh, I can't tell you things. It's God's will, whatever you do. And it's like, maybe fuck you and tell me something for once, huh? He kind of doesn't tell anyone anything. Except that one time he sent an angel down to tell someone that they were going to have Jesus, but that's about it. And he was personally invested in that. That was his kid. But so like, it's different. But if that's what you want to do, then I'm prepared to stand by you. It's my job, after all, to take care of you. If this girl's related to you in some way, then I guess I gotta take care of her too. Be pretty bad look as your partner if I started disrespecting your ancestors. And do you know what? What? I wasn't too crazy about the thought of fighting a little girl anyway. Even if that girl has been taken in the form of some nightmarish monster. I just ain't cut out for killing kids. I'm way too sentimental. It's your facial flaw, Keisha. You can't kill kids. It's gonna be your downfall, that's for sure. It's vital in this line of work. Stay sharp, Haru. Be on your guard. If any of these monsters are out there lurking, I don't want them getting the jump on us. I know. You don't need to tell me. Is there audio? I can't hear. I think there's still sound. Haru scanned the forest, his eyes narrowed.
He felt a little lightheaded after his earlier fainting fit, but the crisp night air was invigorating and helped restore his spirits. He felt well enough that he could walk on his own, despite the joking offer Kisho made to give him a piggyback ride. I figured it might help if you're getting tired. I used to give my sisters piggyback rides all the time, you know, when they asked for it. I have a lot of experience. I won't drop you, young master, even if you are a bit bigger than they were, I promise. As if I'd want you to do a silly thing like that. I don't think even you want me to do that. You're just saying words for the sake of it, but you have no intention to actually act on them. Isn't that right? Well, I guess I wouldn't mind it as a one-off, but I reckon carrying even a light thing like you through these woods would be murder on your back. Yes, I know. You told me once already. Now stop talking and keep walking. We have a lot of ground to cover. Oh, are you giving me orders now, young master? Isn't that how it's always been between us? I tell you to jump and you say how high? That's the job my father bestowed upon you. It's what you're being paid for, so I'd appreciate it if you could do it. Well, I'll be. You've got him pretty strict since you took that spill. There's still music? Oh no, I meant on my end with my headphones because I moved the cord a little bit and I was like, oh, what if I unplugged it? Because it was quiet for a minute and I was like, oh no, what if I unplugged it? Even though I didn't hear a single noise that would indicate it being unplugged, because every time something gets unplugged, the computer's got to go boop boop. But I don't hate it. It's kind of cute actually seeing you get all huffy. Do you think I've got a thing for being ordered around? Yeah, probably. I couldn't tell you. That's something for you to discern on your own. I guess. But you could always help me out, you know? Once we get out of the woods, that is. I reckon it'd be a fun experiment. What do you say? I say that you're getting carried away. But I don't suppose it would hurt to try it out. Well, I wonder about that. It might wind up hurting me. But who knows? I might enjoy it. We'll just have to see, won't we? I am not wholly opposed to the idea of experimenting. For the moment, however, we need to focus. We have more pressing matters on our hands, such as... Haru glanced in the woods beneath the trees. He could see more red eyes flickering among the undergrowth, brighter than chirrut fireflies and even more unsettling. With the presence of these creatures came, as always, an unpleasant stench Haru had become uncomfortably familiar with. It was the stink. Not of rotting flesh, but of something darker, more disturbing, something demonic. It was the stink of hatred, anguish, and betrayal. Were those monsters the product of the young girl's desperate, all-consuming desire for vengeance? If so, they would explain why their bodies were incorporeal. These monsters were not physical beings. They were manifestations of a lost, lonely young girl's hatred. When Haru thought of these monsters like that, he could not help but pity the girl who birthed them. But his pity did not still Haru's blade. He shook off his fatigue and met the monsters, rending them in two with his weapon. Haru did not know how many monsters assaulted him that night, and neither did he care. These monsters were now nothing more than an obstacle. Haru had not chosen to venture deeper into the woods so that he could engage in even more fights. All of these bloodless battles were now beginning to feel distinctly meaningless, if they had ever possessed any meaning in the first place. Haru cut down wave after wave of monsters as he progressed through the forest. He sliced so many monsters asunder that his arms began to ache. His soles were sore from endless walking and his head was throbbing. He could hear a voice, the girl's voice, humming in the back of his head. She was still calling out to him. She wanted him to find her, and Haru was determined that he would do this if it was the last thing he did. He could not let these monsters deter him. Out of the way! Kisho ducked back, light and nimble as a leaf, and deflected the claws of a shadowy beast, which meant to attack Haru from behind. We ain't got time for you, we're not looking to play around. We got places we gotta be, damn it! The monsters, however, didn't draw back. How could they, when they didn't understand Kisho? They couldn't think. Haru was unsure whether they could feel. Perhaps they were immune to pain, hunger, and cold. All they seemed to know was hatred. If that was the case, then perhaps cutting them down was an act of mercy. Haru felt no guilt, therefore, as he decapitated them. It had begun to feel as though he was saving them. Haru and Kisho made their way through the forest, felling monsters as they went, until they happened upon an unusual sight. There, nestled among the shifting shadows cast by the tall trees, was a conical structure. Its stone walls overgrown with moss and lichen. It was a well. The same well that Haru had seen in his dreams. Haru had found himself trapped inside this well during his most vivid nightmares. He had screamed while trapped inside that well and scraped against the stone walls with his fingers. He had banged with his fists until they bruised and had clawed like a cat until his nails had broken. He had sobbed and cried to little avail. Nobody had come to rescue him. Oh, so you finally made it. Just as nobody had come to rescue her. She was standing in front of the well just as Haru had expected, her dark hair fluttering around her shoulders. Impetuously, she looked up at Haru with an expression far older than her years. My little baby! Ah! Ah! My daughter! I'm going to give her a lollipop. She might have looked like a child, but Haru knew that she was much, much more than that. She had lived for longer than he could fathom, which might have explained why she looked so very disdainful. I'm going to give her a stack of fluffy pancakes! With cream and bacon and banana. You got here rather more quickly than I thought you would. And it looks like you've already recovered from your wounds. I don't know how you were able to heal so quickly, but it's neither here nor there. You really are tenacious. I'm impressed. Or at least I would be, if you were any other man. I would expect nothing less, however, from somebody who so closely resembles my big brother. Don't get complacent, though. All this time I was going easy on you. Now it is time for me to show you what I am truly capable of. I'll erase you from existence. And then I'll take the rest of Kazimara with me. She's so cute! I love a girl with dreams. She's so good. Yes! The girl continued to advance, her face marred with centuries' worth of hatred. The dark miasma which rolled off her was intense. So much so, Kisho shrunk back. The girl was only a small, slender thing, her skinny arms and legs obscured by the fluttering folds of her kimono. But she was more sinister than her appearance suggested. Haru didn't think she was as fragile as she looked. Not as she had been in life. When she had still drawn breath, Haru thought she must have been a shy, skittish sort of a girl. Something like a kitten. Centuries had passed since she had drawn her last breath, however, and in the ensuing years her thirst for revenge had warped her. Haru had been afraid of the girl when he first saw her, but he did not feel afraid of her any longer. Instead, he felt sorry for her. He felt so very sorry, in fact, that he did not draw away, not as Kisho did. Numerous people had let the girl down during her brief life, her older brother included. They had all failed her. The Adashima family had prospered after her death and become exceedingly wealthy. The girl, meanwhile, had been left alone at the bottom of the well, her remains undiscovered and unloved. Nobody had come to rescue her. Nobody had bothered to reclaim her remains and to bury her. The world had forgotten about her. When Haru took that into account, her anger did not feel so very misplaced after all. She was just a small girl who had experienced suffering far greater than she was. It came as no surprise that this suffering had warped her. But Haru was prepared to look past all of that. There was nothing to be gained by reaching for his sword. He did not want to cut her down. The girl had died once already and unjustly. Killing her yet again would not undo her tragic past. It would not offer her restless, wandering spirit any salvation. It would only serve to further justify her hatred. Hug her! Hug her! Hug her! Do it! Haru did not want to feed into the girl's anger. Hug her! Give the baby a hug! He hoped instead to soothe it. Come on! No, You're not alone. I know that you've suffered, but please. So Haru stepped forwards. He knelt before the girl, whose body continued to radiate malice despite it being so very small. He leant in. Yumi! Yumi! Ah! I'm so happy. Oh, poor baby. Oh. Then taking her in his arms, he said, "Listen to me. Your brother never betrayed you, or at least he never meant to. I know that's what you thought, and I understand why you thought it, but you're wrong. Your brother loved you a lot." Yamako. Ah! Yamako stared at Haru, her visible eye wide with shock. How do you know my name? I'm not entirely sure. But there's a lot I know about you, and about your family too. I can see it in my head. It's like I'm reliving a dream. But I think these are memories instead. Memories? Yamako inhaled sharply. Whose memories? It's hard to say, but I think they would have to be your older brother's. Your real older brother, I mean. Wasn't his name Kaisuke? Kaisuke? Yamako's eyes widened further still. Her slender shoulders seized with tremors. What do you know about Kaisuke? What do you know about me? Only what he wants me to. It's a bit hazy, but... Haru frowned, cradling Yamako to his chest all the while. Haru had no prior connection to Yamako beyond the eerie dreams she had tormented him with. But embracing her seemed right. It seemed almost as right as wielding his father's sword. Haru possessed vague memories of embracing Yamako like this in the past, when she had been younger and he had not been there at all. Because these memories did not belong to him, not truly. They belonged to Yamako's older brother. Yamako had thought that Kaisuke, under her parents' orders, had led her to the mountains to slaughter her. Haru knew, however, that this had not been true. Yuichiro and Ayako had never planned to have their younger daughter killed. Yuichiro might have been prepared to wash his hands of his only daughter, but he had not meant to do it in so final a manner. He had meant, instead, to sell Yamako to a brothel. Kaisuke had not been involved in his father's plottings, but had gone to suspect that his parents were up to something based on the way his mother flinched around Yamako. His suspicions had been as good as confirmed, however. When Yamako herself had mentioned the strange conversation she had heard before between her parents, one which pertained to her. Hey Kaisuke! She's so cute! Yamako had addressed her older brother one night when he came to tuck her in beneath her sheets. Mother and father aren't going to send me away, are they? They aren't sick of me, are they? Of course not. Mother and father love you a lot. As their parents, it's their job to protect you. You say that, but I don't know if they've ever done that. I've seen the way they look at me. They think I'm a burden. Kaisuke? Yamako had reached out in the dark, her fingers white like moonbeams. Warriorly, she had curled them about Kaisuke's sleeves and had said, I'm not a burden, am I? Even if mother and father grow sick of me, even if they try to get rid of me, you'll protect me, won't you? This earnest, innocent question had been so sweet it made Kaisuke's heart throb. Full of sympathy of his younger sister, he bundled her in his arms and he made her a promise. Of course I'll protect you. I'll never let you get hurt, Yamako. I love you. Kaisuke had met this promise too, which was why, only a few days later, he made his move. Oh, my foot's going to sleep. Oh, there we go. He had awoken his younger sister in the dead of night, when the rest of the family was asleep, and he told her to be quiet. We're going on a journey, Yamako, just you and me. Now get dressed and gather your things, and do it quietly. We wouldn't want to wake up the others. Huh? With half-lidded, blurry eyes, Yamako had surveyed her older brother confusedly. Why can't we wake up the others? Is this meant to be a secret? Yes, that's right. This is our secret, just between the two of us. We'll be back eventually, of course. But you're the only one I'm taking on this journey with me. That's because you're my only little sister, and you're precious to me. If our other brothers knew I was giving you special treatment, they'd be jealous. So let's not disturb them, alright? I wouldn't want them to start crying. Oh! Alright then. The logic must have made sense to Yamako because she had nodded her head docilely. She hadn't questioned why their parents could not know of their flight, just as Kaisuke had hoped. Yamako had never been particularly close to their parents. She had always instead turned to Kaisuke for comfort. He had been 15 years older than she, and he might as well have been her real guardian. A father and a mother rolled into one. Yamako had no cause to doubt Kaisuke's good intentions. Why would she, when he had told her that he meant to protect her? He had promised. Yamako had dressed stealthily in the dark of the night in the nicest kimono she owned. Then she had wound an old shawl about her shoulders, one which had once belonged to their mother. Kaisuke had insisted upon this too, to protect her from the cold. Apparently it was a chilly night. Once the both of them had dressed, they left their home behind them and set off into the night. Kaisuke had meant to lead Yamako through the mountains with nothing but the moon's light to guide them, then to the nearest town. With enough distance between himself and his parents, he would then be able to decide what next to do. His plans had been vague and ill-defined, but he knew he hadn't the time to continue hanging about. Not when he could not trust his father. He had known if he tarried too long, his father would take Yamako away from him. Then he would never be able to look after her. Kaisuke had promised Yamako he'd be there for her, and that was exactly what he intended to do. But he hadn't known he would run into misfortune that night. 3 bandits, large burly men much bigger than Kaisuke, had launched out of the forests, had lurched out of the shadows, fog swirling ominously about their ankles all the while. They had taken one look at Kaisuke and Yamako, who had been dressed in their finest clothes for their escape, and must have regarded them as easy marks. They had descended upon them, 3 brutes against one slender, sensitive young man and his younger sister. The outcome of the skirmish had been inevitable. Kaisuke must have known as he faced off against them that he would not be able to win, but still he did his best. He had tried to fend the men away while Yamako had run. She had done her best to outpace her pursuers, but the odds had been stacked against her. Kaisuke hadn't been able to fight those men. He had not even been able to scratch them despite being armed with his father's sword. A ceremonial relic more than a practical piece of weaponry. The bandits had bested Kaisuke with ease. And then they must have pursued Yamako. They had found her trembling, wide-eyed and afraid in the forest. Yamako was only a young girl, but the men had not shown her any mercy. One of them had struck the back of her head with a rock. Then they had tossed her body down a nearby well. Yamako had not been dead, however, when she had been disposed of in this manner. She had awoken some hours later at the bottom of this well, her head aching, her leg broken, and her memories hazy. She had been too disoriented to remember how she found herself in such a predicament. The bandits were only a vague memory. More than anything else, she recalled Kaisuke's promise that he would protect her, and she knew that he had failed her. No matter how much she shouted for him, he never came. Nobody came for her. She was left for days at the bottom of that well, all on her own. She had suffered endlessly in the dark, crying and screaming to no avail. When she had finally died, after 3 days, it had been an unbearable agony, cursing her older brother's name as she did. Perhaps, she pondered, Kaisuke had meant for this to happen. Perhaps he had meant for her to die. She would be one less mouth to feed. There was a cruel sort of logic to it, one which not even a child like Yamako could deny. She had been a burden. Kaisuke had always assured her otherwise. But Yamako had never quite believed him. Yamako was a sensitive child, and she had always known that her parents did not really want her. Why would Kaisuke? Why would anybody? Her final moments had revealed just how hollow Kaisuke's promises had always been. They had exposed his true feelings. And in so doing, they had broken Yamako's heart. This was what Yamako had always believed. But she had been wrong. I don't want to tell you how to feel. That isn't my right. I know that your father failed you and your mother too. But your brother never did. He loved you. So please, don't lose yourself to your hatred. That isn't what your brother would want.
What?
Yamako stared at Haru wide-eyed. So surprised did she look by this, her pupils were little more than pinpricks floating about in the whites of her eyes. Her face, which was already pale, turned paler still until it was almost ashen. She tried to draw away from Haru, but she could not budge him. Pinned in place by Haru's arms, which were wound tightly about her, she could only stand there. A cool breeze blew, disturbing her hair and the sleeves of her shabby kimono. She opened her mouth. But despite her best efforts to articulate her thoughts, her voice caught in her throat. Don't believe it. No, I can't believe it. What? Yamako. Haru meant to reassure the young girl, but it was in vain. She had summoned the strength at long last to push him away. She stepped back, the wooden heels of her sandals clattering against the undergrowth, and cried, Don't talk to me like you know me, you ingrate! You don't know the first thing about myself or about my big brother. You don't know how it felt, having him turn against me. Yamako. He was the only person in my family I could trust, or at least I thought he was. I loved him, and I thought he loved me. I would have done anything for him, gone anywhere with him. Yamako. And he knew that. He took advantage of that. They were all plotting against me. My mother, my father, and Tsuyoshi and Hajime, and Kaisuke too. He took me to this mountain because he wanted to get rid of me. He threw me in this well and he left me here. He betrayed me. That's what happened. I'm sure that's what happened, but... Yamako stared at Haru, her eyes so intense they made Haru's skin prickle. Are you telling me I was wrong? Yamako sniffled. Her confused sorrow seemed even more potent than her overwhelming aggressive anger from before. While she had raged, it had been easy enough for Haru to regard her as an enemy. When she looked at him like this, however, with the eyes of a lost and lonely child, Haru could feel nothing but pity for her. She had caused untold suffering, it was true, owing to her rampages, but she was still just a young girl. Her grief seemed all of a sudden a palpable thing. It stirred Haru's heart, so he gasped, Yamako. And when next he spoke, it was not with his own voice. The air was still cold, but a curious warmth began to fill Haru's body. It was soothing, much like drinking a cup of freshly brewed green tea. That was sliding beneath the sheets at the tail end of a difficult day. The warmth inside Haru's chest expanded. It washed over him until the tips of his fingers tingled. Then, in a deeper, lower voice than his own, he said, I know that it has taken me far too long to say this, and I know, too, that I cannot expect to soothe your suffering. Haru, or was it Kaisuke, swallowed. His expression shifted. Then he said, very gently, But I really am sorry about what happened to you. I'm sorry that I couldn't protect you.
What? Big brother? Is that really you?
That's right. It has been a long, long time since last I was able to speak to you and to hold you. I would like to say that I'm proud of you and how very much you've grown. But you and I both know that would be a lie, and I have no desire to deceive you. I have never wanted to deceive you. Haru's lips continued to move, forming words which were not his own. He could feel his body shifting, though it wasn't at his command. It felt as though there was another presence lodged inside him, another soul perhaps, which was puppeteering his arms and his legs. It was a strange sensation to feel so at mercy to another, and to hear words which were not his own falling from his lips. But no matter how peculiar an experience it was, it did not alarm Haru. The sensation which surrounded him was much too gentle to instill any fright in him. Oh, I think I've hit my limit for the day, babes, even though we're getting near the end. I think that is where we will close off. A lot has happened today. It's been crazy. Many developments. I am very happy that it looks like we'll be able to save our beautiful daughter. Let's see who's live. Who we can raid. Oh, Eve is live. Eve is playing Coral Island. Eve. We must commit violence on the Eve. Come, come. Oh, it looks like she's finishing up. Never mind. Yes, a lot happened. It was kind of crazy, actually. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm not really finding anyone to run a raid today. That's not the one that suits the vibe. I'm not feeling it. So it's gonna end. We're gonna end the stream. It's gonna end. Thank you for joining today, chat. Very much appreciated. Yeah. A big appreciation. I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye now.